Hello, and welcome to my channel. I am Damien Marie AtHope. In the simplest terms, I am an atheist-humanist philosopher and prehistorical writer-researcher at DamienMarieAtHope.com. I am specifically an axiological atheist. An axiological atheism can be thought to involve ethical and value theory reasoned and moral argument driven apatheism, agnosticism, atheism, antitheism, antireligionism, secularism, and humanism. Axiological atheists can be understood as a value theory or a value science atheist. As an axiological atheism's ethically reasoned and constructive pro-humanity. I am an axiological thinker, value theorist. The science of goodness, worthiness, usefulness, valuableness, virtue, reliableness, accuracy, validity, morality, integrity, beneficialness, etc., etc. We axiologists have a value consciousness. And in general, we see the architecture of humanistic humanitarianism value in people that we see as dignity beings. Places and things are not. Axiology is a value theory. In its broadest sense, it involves areas of philosophy that are deemed to encompass some evaluative or evaluation aspect. Therefore, it crosses almost all domains in some way or another. Now for a more detailed terms as to what I am. I am an axiological atheist, an anti-theist, an anti-religionist, secularist, humanist, rationalist, writer, artist, poet, philosopher, advocate, activist with schooling in psychology, sociology, as well as I am an autodidact, self-taught in science, archaeology, anthropology, and philosophy. I promote science and am against pseudoscience, pseudo-history, pseudo-morality, things that are found in religion.
Hello.
Hey,
How's it going?
it's going good for me. It seems like it's been going rougher for you.
Oof, it's been a hectic couple weeks.
I feel for you, man. Hey, I understand, man. Things happen. That's why I told you before, though. I don't really have that much problems. Like, see, some people I feel like they expect everything to always be perfect.
Right.
So when it doesn't go perfect, but I know it could be my sociopath mentality in general. Is I stay kind of emotionally neutral to most things. I mean, it's like I try to explain it the easiest way to understand how it is for someone like me. It's like if you took the care volume and you just turned it way down.
Right.
I hear it, but I have to kind of pay attention. And it's very easy to not pay attention. In other words.
Yeah.
So, but anyways, I understand. You're going through stuff, and even me, who doesn't have as high care, I can still get stressed. I can still be overwhelmed. It's just it takes a lot and a lot greater for it to happen. But I'm trying to say is it's not like even someone who has a sociopath almost doesn't care. It doesn't mean that they can't still be emotionally affected. We're still human beings.
Yeah, exactly. Turns out.
Well, that's also why I say that we can still get to people. That's why I don't believe in this punitive, like say, criminality stuff.
Yeah.
That's why I'm not for, in a sense, no protection of the innocents and anything like that. To me, that's not a good society. So, but I completely think that I would agree with abolishing the concept of police. That's just a nonsense concept. In prisons, another nonsense, totally terror-inducing concept. Because to me, it actually doesn't even achieve what it's supposed to do, which is supposedly reduce recidivism. Going back and stuff. It doesn't do that. Actually, it does kind of the opposite. It helps teach people to be dependent as a because I've talked to people that went to prison and they said, even though it's bad, everything's going to happen. And so they get kind of normalized in a sense. it's unhealthy, but we can get normalized to anything. It's evolution. We try to adapt. That's why I try to me, I see like emotional health and even societal health as more like a balancing thing.
Mm-hmm.
So in other words, like some people think of utopia, and everyone's got a different opinion. So I'm not trying to even
Right.
I'm just making a comment as an anarchist. I don't think there ever is going to be zero strife.
Right.
I just don't believe it. Zero deaths, zero rape, zero. I think it should be way down.
Yeah.
Because of a lot of other factors. That's what I'm saying. To me, how I see it like this, it's not that poor people commit more crime in a sense to what people think is crime. Because sometimes to me they're not doing crime, even though they're called. But I don't even want to go there. Not even talking that, but that's another issue that I don't want to. I don't agree with every law that any country has. So let's just put it that way. But because I think that it should be a core on our rights as individuals, especially if we're going to say we're citizens. I mean, it's just anyway.
Yeah.
So this goes to the problem of like we're going to talk about Ukraine, right? First, before we get into it, and Russia and America and all the imperialist, shit. But my point is always, like I said, the reason of these videos wasn't just to teach prehistory in a sense. I have ones more that are geared towards that. This was more real. I got from the beginning, and I'm still trying to do it. Is I'm trying to show people the now and the back then, the bullshit then, the bullshit now. Do you see that? That's what this whole goal was, is to see how this shit is similar and to think that somehow, even though it's never fucking worked, somehow it will work.
Yeah, that's right.
And especially it'll work somehow for the betterment of people and it won't be abused. Never fucking has happened.
Yeah.
So anyways, so that's one of the things. And this goes back to the thing of Ukraine. I'm not anti-Ukraine. I also wouldn't say I'm 100% pro-Ukraine. Let's put it that way. Because especially just individually, shit that the government has done. I mean, not letting people escape that want to escape. I think that's the most fucked up bullshit. Then the thing of saying, you can't even vote in, say, socialism. That's also fucking bullshit. And there's other things they've done. They also, did have a group of them fighting Russians for them. Of course, Russians also have some Nazis of their own doing the same. Or certainly, if not direct Nazis, they're far right fucking lunatics that are fighting for them. In fact, one of the people in Russia currently said, I think he's an ex something. He's a politician. I think he's that president, but I'm not totally sure about that. But anyways, this politician, ex-politician in Russia said, "Oh, we should actually push into the borders of Poland."
Oh.
So not just move past it and fully take over Ukraine, but also start showing Poland it's too big. We want some of that back in a sense.
Right.
Which doesn't surprise me. To me, this whole shit to me, that's why so just because I'm not somehow raising flags for Ukraine does not mean I'm fucking pro-Russia.
Right.
In general. Or how about this? People attacking other people. What the fuck?
How about we don't do that?
I told you before, I'm anti-war, but it doesn't mean I don't think that war can never happen. Sadly, it will. And so defending yourself to me is what I feel like the Ukrainians are doing. That doesn't mean I think that they're doing everything correct. I think they've treated soldiers wrong. So have the Russians. I think they've treated some of their people wrong. So have the Russians. I mean, so that's why the whole issue for us as an anarchist is like, I'm not against them, but for them,
right. It's like I took a look last week or 2 weeks ago at the idea of like, was Putin provoked by NATO into attacking Ukraine? And in some ways, they've been like NATO and the US have been antagonizing Russia and Putin for a very long time. But in other ways, absolutely not. He still just decided to do this.
Well, just think of this. We certainly not just the last president, fucking Trump against China. So has capitalists, Biden also said he's against China, and yet, and even trying to counteract China by putting bases and people and stuff, certainly fucking with China. Still doesn't. I don't think that should be that China should start attacking its neighbors either. I mean,
right, yeah, like the
I don't
conflict
want
in Taiwan,
or
you know, the idea that they should go in and take over Taiwan, like that's a whole, like that's not necessarily justified just because the U.S. kind of sucks, right?
Well, that's what I tried to so you know, I'm one of those weird anarchists that like lets all kinds of people with all kinds of ideas, unless they are too fucking far out there, then sometimes they get blocked. Which the one that you read, I blocked, but I didn't block because of his crazy ideas about Russia and Ukraine. I blocked because he tried to attack me. Once he did that, and he said my intellectual honesty is slipping, I was done with this dude.
Yeah, that's when you start to go, well, maybe we just can't have a conversation because you've got this thing in your head and you won't see my perspective.
Yeah, because he would say, I want you to read it. But the reason why, too, I want people to get, I don't like to straw man people. I do like to show what their argument is and why I think it's wrong. If I can. Yeah. Because I try to be an honest thinker. I'm not trying to make people look bad. I don't even want to say his name or anything, you know.
Right.
Because that's not my goal. And I'm also wanting to make the comment, even though it's a Marxist-Leninist, I am not making the statement that all Marxist-Leninists are like this.
Although many on Twitter seem to be like this.
Are like this. But I still don't want to say that all of them. I don't know that all are, but too many seem to be not just not for Ukraine, but actively pro Russia demolishing and killing people. And then, like that one guy you're going to read, actually think, well, it's Joe Biden's fault. I'm like, what?
Right. Like, there's a lot of valid criticisms of Joe Biden. So why do you have to make shit up? Like,
well, yeah. And so to me, it was just an odd conversation, but I wanted to add it to, and also I feel like in an odd way, I feel like the, normal people that are, you know, not say going insane, or some of them are also to me towards Ukraine kind of going insane, like Ukraine is some different entity than Russia and all this. So we're going to look at all the history of them, but just as the first, in a sense, country of where they're both together, right, was called the Kievan Rus. Rus being later, like, you know, associated in a sense with Russians, but it has to do also with Ukraine and Belarus, these Kievan Rus, and Kiev obviously is in Ukraine. So it's not saying the Moscow Rus, it's the Kievan Rus. Anyways, so it's more accurate to say everybody was Ukraine and Poland, or something variation of that then became the Russians, you know, and now they're fighting each other in a sense. But so I just thought it was important to understand and grasp. Also, to me, I think it's really great to grasp how bullshit states are, how borders are just a fucking fantasy, like I always say they are. The borders are a fantasy that are in a sense held together by the threat of war.
Yeah.
That's it. And as you see, they can be changed. Often have been.
Yeah, it happens all the time, actually.
Actually. Just like one of these times, I'm gonna play a video that shows how much of America, if it had followed all of its treaties legally, how much land would be native land, and how much would be America, and very small.
That's a great idea to look at that, like, and for Canada too, like, because the unceded territories that were just supposed to be shared lands that both countries, both or all nations could use, and it's just like now it's Canada, right?
We'll do that. So I want to do this, finish this series
for sure,
because like I said, I'm trying to show back and forth present day things, old stuff, and kind of relate, you know. People can grasp this. So then I want to do, of course, I have a few more archaeologists I want to talk to, just because they're talking about different issues, particular to Graham Hancock a little bit, but also to religion and whatever. And then I also then want to do our video where we dress Graham Hancock. So unfortunately, before we said don't watch the video, well, by that time it would be good if you at least, maybe not public,
Yeah.
but you at least watch it for our video, so that we can then both be on a similar page and just talk about our feelings. Because what I want, after we talk to archaeologists, I want our, like, sort of a more of a layman's, approach to what's going on. I know I do know some things also, but just even if I didn't have that, I just looking at it, there's a bunch of things that I would be like, right. So I also want to hear your perspective on that. So maybe what you can do is when you watch it, put down notes or something, or points that you think we should address, because I think that would be beneficial, especially since you don't have like me, some of the archaeology background to know why what some he says. As soon as he says it, I'm like,
right. Yeah, like for me, it would probably be a matter of like, is that conclusion supported? Is he showing, is he showing why he knows this or why he thinks
right, which would be super cool to talk about.
Yeah,
that's because I basically I want to do is to get in a sense, first to get like a perspective from more experts, and then just our perspective. Just take a look, you especially more than me, because you have less archaeology background and understanding to gauge what he's saying. But so I want to do that, but then I want to do China, where we talk about in 5 shows, where we talk about ancient China from 20,000 years ago until about 4,000 years ago, because a lot of stuff happened that affected the whole world. And so I really want to talk about it. And I feel like people, even archaeologists, there's some, but I already said before, told you, man, once you pass into, Central Asia and to East Asia, there's a bunch of archaeologists to be like, I don't really know much of that at all.
Right.
So, I mean, it's in the general public, I don't think knows almost anything. So, I mean, you know what I'm saying? So, or at least I should say, maybe in America and Canada and some other places.
Yeah.
A lot of maybe people in Asia know some stuff, but I mean, outside of Central Asia and East Asia, I don't think most people know that much. Maybe they know India or something, but you start talking about North and Siberians, I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah.
So I want to address that also because it relates to grasping religion on the Asian side. Because then the next thing I want to do is talk about Native Americans or Native Canadians and indigenous people of the Americas. Let's put it that way. And then how their mythology, especially in the Dane, in a sense, language family, has these connections to Asia, and then the Pacific Coast has connections to the bird mythology and totemism of Asia. So this whole area. Anyways, I want to talk about it. But it's good first to me to talk about Asia, because then you understand. Then when we talk about this other one and we see how it's similar, you're like, oh yeah, I kind of remember that. So
using a methodological approach to explain it.
right. So, and then when we do the Native American ones, if we can, I want to have John back on to tell us his opinion, because he worked in Central America and in South America in the north part. So he should have some understanding, and he does shamanism, which I already talked a lot about. It's important for people to know. It's not no big deal. It's actually almost in every religion. So it's a big deal to understand it. So we're going to have him come on in a sense and, talk about that also, because it helps, because I want people to grasp these two religions. And when you start understanding it, and then even like in the video that there's a archaeologist from China we're going to watch, he says, well, everyone knows, and I think that's not true. I mean, it is true what he says, that it is true,
but that everyone knows
wrong that everyone knows this.
Yeah.
He's like, everyone knows Siberia is where shamanism comes from, and I'm thinking, that's not everybody.
Not everybody knows this.
Yeah. No. In fact, I think most people don't know this.
Right. Yeah. Not as common as
he's completely wrong.
Yeah.
It's like, yes, I agree with you that that's where it comes from. I do not in any way agree that everyone knows this. In fact, I think almost nobody knows this.
Yeah. How many people are actually learning about this and thinking about it? Like, it's very, very few.
Yeah, very few. So I thought it was funny. He said that, wow, man, there's some academic bias that he doesn't realize. Oh, I mean, I totally agree with you, dude.
Everybody that I talk to knows this.
Yeah. I talked to Cory and asked him, hey, do you know this before you met me? And what?
Absolutely not. I had no idea. Yeah.
So, but I do think it's really important because it helps understand. But I do also think, like, I have a map that shows where I think the religions, made it into America, and I don't have a line for animism. But now I'm thinking, if it came in earlier than 30,000, it might have been just animism. So I probably need to draw up my thing again now that I have new information.
Right.
I have to update my old map that says only totemism and shamanism and paganism came in. Now I have to go, nope, wrong. Actually, I'm thinking that so there's, to me, two big jumps out of, in a sense, Africa that make it to Asia. Let's put it that way.
Okay.
One of them is from Central Africa, leaves early because it gets over to maybe it leaves 100,000 years ago or something. So it leaves early. And because they're burying people in an animistic way in about 55,000 years ago in Australia. So they make it from Africa to Australia. That DNA also goes up north towards Siberia and then over to the Americas. So that's why, if that's the old, I don't know. But see, the problem is the male and female DNA is different. I know it's confusing to people, but so female DNA has A, B, C, D, and X.
Okay.
And that going into the Americas, in a sense.
Okay.
There's much fewer, in a sense, male DNA coming in, like lineages,
like
types of lineages.
Okay.
So there's just few, but it's not. But it's just. Let me go back to the A though. A is one of the oldest in Africa, like 100,000 years old.
Right.
So I'm just making a comment. A and B, I think B is like, 70,000 or something, and so I mean,
it's still quite old.
The fact that those two DNAs are in the Americas, to me, I think it, especially with understanding the new facts, that there could be stuff say maybe 50,000 years old, and that one book said 60,000 by the indigenous. Which actually, I'm going to have her on one of these times. Indigenous archaeologists.
Ah, that's cool. Yeah, that'd be awesome.
Yeah. Oh, dude, totally. You know me, man. I like the real shit. So and let's not just talk about them. Let's actually hear from them. What a shocker,
For sure.
But so, because I want to understand, I want to actually hear what the thing is. I want to understand. So I'm not. Once again, I'm a weird, in a sense, anti-religionist. I actually want to understand what we're talking about.
Yeah. No, that's fair.
But anyway, so and also, like, we're going to talk about some of the North tribes that were reindeer hunters, like the Sami, which that other archaeologist is going to come back, and then in the Native American stuff after, like, we're going to do it, and then it's sort of after he'll come on, in a sense, to give context that see how all these act. Look at how these ones act, and these are in Sweden. And they actually come from the central Siberia, probably, or something, originally almost all the way from Eastern Asia. But anyways, my point is that once you see this, and then you see how these peoples all kind of have these similar things, I think it really helps understand. It doesn't mean that I'm saying they have exact religions.
Right.
What I'm saying is you can hear and see that there's some mono myth that spread and then changed depending on where it goes and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
So,
which makes sense. I mean,
it's not like Graham Hancock that somehow one person gave all perfect religion and then they all corrupted it, which I've heard that's wrong. And I don't think they corrupted it anyways, because once again, you give, say 5-10 clans, even the same stuff, they're all going to see it from their perspective, just like how anybody does. He sees it from their perspective.
Yeah,
it's like if you ask someone about God, the Christian, right? They give you their perspective. They don't know. Well, verse 10:5-7 says, whatever. I mean, they're generally say, well, in my opinion, or how I feel God is, or so. It's generally, anyway. I don't want to get into all that, but I'm just saying so people understand what we're doing, and you understand too. there's all kinds of stuff I want to do.
Sounds good.
But and I also want to get some more socialists on to talk about stuff, and get some anarchists to talk about this stuff. And I also want, like I told you, I do want to do the thing about atheism, where we talk about history, and I want Justin to come on especially for that, to talk about the atheist community from his perspective.
Right.
I can give my perspective, but my perspective, people were treating me kind of like friendly, and they were impressed with what I knew and how I could think. And so I know that skewed my interaction with them.
Right.
Like, they're going to treat me cool because they're impressed with me. I mean, someone else, they maybe not. Because this one chick said that, someone wouldn't even, give her time or shake her hand or anything.
Yeah.
So she complained, but to me about it, and said, this famous atheist did this. And so, I was like, well, yeah, he doesn't act that way with me.
Right. Yeah.
I have 3 pictures with the guy. I mean, he absolutely is James Randi. Absolutely was cool to me.
Yeah.
But this chick said he blew her off.
Yeah. Depending on the perspective, like, there's varying, like you say, experiences within the atheist community. So it's good to have.
Right. And I don't want to just give my perspective and somehow, what mine means for everybody.
Right.
I mean, I'm also 6 foot, and I'm this big, gruff, very aggressive personality, or can be, or certainly bold. So I don't think it's good to gauge things totally on how people interact with me.
And male presenting, right? Like,
oh, definitely.
So
definitely.
That makes a big difference, I think.
Yeah, it totally does. And and I told you, I'm the kind of person that a lot of people, when I'm around, feel either threatened or safe because I'm around. One of the two.
Right.
I mean, I cause people to have feelings, especially if I'm not in a wheelchair. If I'm walking around and stuff, people act that way. But anyways, so I'm just saying it's important. That's why I think it's also important because like I hear a lot of people, especially in pseudoarchaeology or whatever, or even like with the thing you're going to read about politics, they're not thinking. They're allowing their own personal, even if he feels that's his personal, like me, right? Well, my personal experience, they were all pretty much great with me.
Right.
Well, that doesn't mean that's a female's perspective, or a trans person's perspective, or an indigenous person's perspective, or whatever.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So but anyway, so I want you to go ahead and read. We're going to do the thing about Ukraine. You go ahead and read what an actual, on Twitter, a Marxist-Leninist said to me.
All right. So first, you posted a shamanism in Siberia link to Wikipedia. And the quote says, a large minority of people in North Asia, particularly in Siberia, follow the religio-cultural practices of shamanism. Some researchers regard Siberia as the heartland of shamanism.
And I would say it is.
Right. So a Marxist-Leninist responds, LOL, this reminds me of something. Most Russians are Asian. Joe Biden is engaged in a racist genocide of Asians. And Damien's response, I only agree with your first part, not that Joe Biden is engaged in a racist genocide of Asians. The Marxist-Leninist responds, well, how many more Russians and Ukrainians does he have to murder before you start to believe it? Always remember, the unrelenting death and destruction in Ukraine can end at any time. Joe Biden need only say so. That's simply not true. But...
Oh yeah, no, I want your opinion after you read the whole thing. I was like going, anyways, I felt like, am I in Bizarro world and shit? Upside down world.
Yeah, that's right.
But so I was trying, but just to go back to people understand. If you see, I'm not being mean. I'm not calling him names. I'm just trying to help him think through his thinking. But when he attacks me, then I was like, I'm done. Yeah. I'm not an activist no more. I'm done. I was just trying to be a nice. You followed me for a while. You like a lot of my ideas, but what the shit? You're out of here. But anyways.
Yeah. So Damien's response. Always remember, the unrelenting death and destruction in Ukraine can end at any time. Putin need only say so, which is true. Marxist-Leninist responds, 1, it's hard to say that a country defending itself from American imperialism can stop whenever they want to. That's not what's happening. 2, you and I are not Russian. The fact remains the death and destruction could end tomorrow if Biden wanted it to. Damien's response. So Putin is the one responsible and is involved in imperialism, but I also feel America is an imperialist, is imperialist. Both are true. Marxist-Leninist responds, it may be that Russia is imperialist, but it is the one defending itself from America's aggression.
Pause there for a second. I felt super freaking happy. I was like, I'm getting through to this guy.
Right. Because he started off like, yeah.
Holy shit. He just admitted Russia is probably imperialist. I'm like,
yeah.
We're getting somewhere. Go ahead.
There is no Russian aggression happening.
Now that part I went, oh my God, he's back into dissidence. What the?
Yeah, that's right. Damien's response, attacking people who are not in NATO is not attacking American imperialism to me. Marxist-Leninist responds, yes, and that's what matters. Your MSM informed opinions are really firing on all cylinders. MSM means mainstream media.
Right, which I'm like, it doesn't even take that. Just take fucking paying attention.
Yeah,
even if you took the Russian stuff and you took it all serious and you looked to find, like what I try to do with history or archaeology, I try to find stuff that tests the hypothesis. Does this match up?
Right.
And then you go look. Is there no Nazis in Ukraine? Well, that's not right. There is.
Yeah.
But is there Nazis in Ukraine the way that Russia is talking? No, there is not a full-blown everyone's a Nazi bullshit. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
If someone says there's no Nazis, they're a fucking liar. If someone says there's only Nazis, they're a fucking liar.
Yeah, exactly. So then he put in brackets, the whole point, which you seem to miss, is that Russia can't allow NATO's aggressive expansion to reach its border. Ukraine will be NATO. That's what Russia has to stop. Close bracket. But you can't not know that. I'm detecting a real slippage in your intellectual honesty. Let's stop. Damien's response, he is not in the war, and do you see Putin's war as racist? Marxist-Leninist responds, I'm not aware of any wars belonging to Putin. What are you talking about? We're talking about the Ukraine war. There is no question Joe Biden is racist. I have no idea if Putin is. Anyway, what in the fuck does that have to do with the fact that Joe Biden could end the war tomorrow? Oh boy. Okay. Damien's response, if Biden stopped giving money, it would not stop the war. Putin, the aggressor, can stop engaging in war and it will end. Marxist-Leninist responds, of course it would. That's just silly. By the way, he doesn't have to only stop giving money. That's also a silly thing to say. He can negotiate a settlement tomorrow. And that's the end of that.
Right, because that's when I was like, I'm just done with him. Like I said, I used to be an activist, and I would take 3 days to do, to help people think. But
right,
yeah, I'm not doing that.
There's just some factually incorrect things that he's saying here. Like, even if you don't want to assign blame for the war on an individual, this is a Russian aggression on a sovereign state that happens to be in negotiation with NATO to become a participant. That is not to say that it is America expanding into Russian territory. Like it's a conflation of two things that aren't the same.
True. Yeah, I thought you would find that to be, but anyways, so that was, I felt, was on the, in a sense, Marxist-Leninist side that was too much. And I feel like on the liberal side or whatever, or, some of people on the left side is also a little too much. I feel like they don't want to see anything that they've done wrong or somehow doing that is against Ukraine and thus against, but of course,
it's like I've been following like this account lately, and I quite like most of their stuff because they're criticizing quote unquote leftists that I also criticize, but often they've been talking about like Ukraine or NATO as though they are totally they have no responsibility in this at all. And I don't think that's an act. I mean, we can look at this with nuance, right? Like we can say some of the things that NATO and America and Ukraine have done have been anti-Russian or have been things that Russia doesn't like. So Russia feels threatened and reacted aggressively to that. And we can look at this with nuance. I don't know why we have to have a black and white kind of conversation about these things.
Well, because it's about sides, which I know that's why people don't get us anarchists can sometimes seem like we're all over the place.
Yeah, because we look at the nuance and we refuse to just pick a side to be on the team.
There you go. We can see the actual thing for it's like I told you. I didn't say I enjoy voting for who I've ever voted for, and I vote all over the place in a sense. I'm talking about politically.
Yeah.
But that doesn't have anything to do with me being an anarchist. The only reason I vote is simply to try to do to protective against any little bit of harm I can.
Right.
There's nothing else I can do. I told you before, I do not believe, as some of these people think, that you can somehow vote your way into anarchism. I don't think that's how it's going to happen.
Yeah.
I mean, if we could, great. I'm not, but we need to be honest that are we adding in all these rich people that have all of their influence, and you seriously believe ever that they're going to let you just vote away their wealth?
Yeah, exactly.
No,
never going to happen.
So to me, yeah. So that's why I say, it would be nice, but I don't think so. So, anyways, my point is, it is important to me to try to test and think about ideas, and not just. And I certainly am not into campism, with anarchists either. If there's an anarchist that did some racist or bigoted shit, we should talk about it. What the fuck?
Yeah, that's right.
And
not accept that particular, that thing that they did, right? Like, I was reading for the next anarchist history. There's a section where I think it was before he was an anarchist, but Mikhail Bakunin was talking about nationalism. And how he was, he was almost pro-nationalism for a while. And I'm like, no, I don't like that. If I'm understanding this correctly, I disagree with Mikhail Bakunin, god of anarchism.
Right.
Right. So it's.
Well, I think that's healthy. I really, the ones that give, excuses for like he said shit that was completely, anti-Semitic, total bullshit.
Right.
Like what the fuck, or stuff that other people have said that were sexist or whatever. I mean, to me, that it's even we should try, getting better. Not going back and defending ugliness.
Yeah,
so to me,
exactly.
But that's why to me. But you say exactly. So that means, in a sense, you and me are both not cultural relativists. That's why when that guy said he's a cultural relativist, that one archaeologist, I went, I don't really agree with that.
Yeah, like
I'm a multiculturalist. I believe all cultures have a right
to
exist in a sense. Totally different.
Like
all cultures are relatively equal, and some can say, murdering children, as long as their culture says it, then it's totally acceptable, and then for us, it's not. Yeah, no.
Yeah, like I have certain ideas in my head, beliefs, I guess, values that I think ought to be universal. Like
because you're a multiculturalist and not a cultural relativist.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So, anyways, not that I understand that a lot of times it's trying to be in a sense, sort of like anti-colonial. They're trying to not see things in a sense or push their cultural values on others. So I don't think it comes from like a bad place.
Right.
I just think it's an error to me.
Yeah.
That's just how I see it. But anyway, so now I want you to go ahead and address the Ukraine thing. Also, people say Slavy, Ukraini. Well, but anyways, what I heard when I hear it is Slav Ukraine, and I wanted to address who the Slavs are.
Okay, so you say, I heard people say Slav Ukraine, and actually said Slava Ukraini, or glory to Ukraine. In Ukrainian, Slava Ukraini is a Ukrainian national salute. I am pro-Ukraine's right to fight back. I also hate Putin, but as an anarchist, I am not pro-nationalist. I am pro-humanity. This includes every state in the world, even in America, where I am from. I am a leftist, but think differently than those who seem anti-Ukraine, or even some who go so far that they sound pro-Putin. Fuck that shit.
Yep.
Damien hates all imperialism, American imperialism, and Russian imperialism. Russian imperialism includes the policy and ideology of power exerted by Russia, as well as its antecedent states over other countries and external territories. This includes the conquests of the Russian Empire, the imperial actions of the Soviet Union, as Russia is considered its main successor state, as well as those of the modern Russian Federation. Some post-colonial scholars have noted the lack of attention given to Russia and Soviet imperialism in the discipline. Slav.
Yes, and I even think that to me it's totally lost how they went against native peoples. I mean, I never hear. I hear tons of leftists hate America because of its past of killing natives and taking away their language. Have you looked at Russia's history?
Right. Yeah, it's definitely something that's worth looking at.
Shitloads of that. Even today, there's still like there's parts of native lands that are not highly populated, and now Putin's idea is let's populate those. Let's send people up there, colonizers, and tell them free land.
Right.
You just free land on native lands. Yeah, what the fuck, right?
Yeah, it's well, like you say, it's colonization. Like it's the same idea as when they were giving free land to people who migrated to America, and they go,
out in the West,
there's nobody using it.
Yeah, these natives, you could just tell them that you're there now. It's yours.
Yeah, that's right.
My point is, certainly, that's currently going on. If you're going to say it was wrong in the past, which I do agree it is, we certainly should be challenging in the future. And if we say land back for native peoples in America, well, their origin is from Siberia. And why do we allow all of those Siberian indigenous tribes to somehow be decimated and killed? And we think they don't deserve their land?
Right.
I mean,
it's land back means all land back everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, but I think it's important because I think I feel like everyone focuses only on one form of indigenous people, like as if somehow we don't owe the same thing for indigenous Africans or whatever. I'm just saying that to me that I always think of it more globally, like everybody, like because I see, and as an anarchist, to me, all of our struggles as a similar struggle. The struggle to be free, the struggle to be, live in humanity with each other.
Yep.
So
if we must have nations, then we must view things internationally.
Hell yeah! It's like someone said, I'm a globalist. Yeah, not like not a global capitalist.
Not a globalist, and not into globalization, but a
yeah. So
whatever we call that.
Well, but that's why I said before, when some of the archaeologists came on, I wanted to distinctly say we're anarchists and we're communists or whatever,
right?
Because I want people to grasp our thing and not just assume or say we're just some liberals out here, or Democrat, and whatever liberal is in Canada, But I was saying, so to me, I wanted to clarify because that's an important to me that people grasp what I really am. Just like I try to grasp who other people really are without making up bullshit,
Yeah, it makes sense to, like you say, know where somebody's coming from, so that.
Yeah. So, anyways, we're gonna go ahead and read them more about the Ukraine stuff.
Okay. Slav or plural Slavs or archaic Slavi etymology. A member of any of the peoples of Europe who speak the Slavic languages from the mid-18th to mid-19th century. The plural Slavi was more common. Since then, Slavs has predominated. So we've got a video that Damien wants to use, a Slav DNA video on the origins of the Slavs in our
now. I have you cut a little bit at the beginning because it starts in Africa and it shows how it gets to Siberia, and then from Siberia is where we're going to take off.
Okay.
I'm just cutting out to right to Siberia and then on. So
okay,
that's also why their beliefs to me are a lot like the Siberians and seem to match the Native Americans in a way that seems odd. Yeah, not because they went over, but because they both came from Siberia and then went their direct way. Same with China. China matches because they went from Siberia south. And so they also went west and they went, west and then east. I'm not pointing the wrong way.
On the video, nobody knows which direction you're actually sitting. So.
Right. But anyway, my point is, that's why I said we really got to do Asia first and stuff. And you really have to understand. I know people don't, but once you understand on the level that I do, every time you hear people talking about certain religions, now this is not saying that every single religious idea in the world is connected. I'm not saying that. There's not some, but there are some very, in a sense, connected themes that people think are totally not connected, even though they sound exactly the same, right? Or very, very close. And they're like, well, people must come up with the same idea. No, that's not true. No, there's a reason. But anyway, so to take it from Siberia all the way to who is a Slav. So Slavs are from Siberia, so people grasp this.
Right.
The DNA.
Okay. So I'll add this.
Oh, by the way, this also is the DNA, the RB that supposedly Graham Hancock said in his blog are the ones that circumnavigated the world. But we're going to watch the reality.
It was found that as a result of Y-DNA analysis, it was found that more than 90% of the members of current R1A are derived from R1AM417. In the previous part, we only looked at the outline of their diffusion process. Please refer to the video linked in the upper right. The key subclades of RM417 that contributed to the spread of R1A in Europe are L.
So in the far right-hand corner is Siberia, and you see that this is all R1A DNA, and it's all the spread. But you see it originally it has out of Africa is the stuff on the bottom part,
right,
showing how it went through from Africa into Saudi Arabia, but it wasn't R. See how it's different things, and then eventually it goes from P, I think it goes to K, and then it goes to R. But anyways.
That's why they're kind of the different colors or whatever.
Right. They're referencing different subclades of DNA. So anyways, but
okay.
But that's like but it's important to understand. If you notice what they do, right? So A and one of these times we'll do B also, but B does similar stuff because pretty much almost 90% of everybody in Europe, or 80% I think it maybe have R either B1B or R1A. So there are. I mean, it's massive. This, as you see right here, it takes from the aerial C and all of a sudden, doom, 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 all these. So this also is important. Do you see it's not just one shot in, right? It's a whole bunch.
Right. Yeah.
So people need to grasp this.
Yes, this one traveled here and this one traveled here and then this one broke off in a couple places. Yeah.
Right. Think of it as the different, like if you have R1A and R1B, those are at one time just R. Then they split into two different, in a sense, families, like or whatever. And then those families then split into other families, they split into other families, they split into other, anyways. So what you see is, I'm just trying to show you that even though it is true, R went all over the place, it's not the same R. So this already, even if back here at the aerial C, if they all were the same religion, by the time they do all this splitting, you see what I'm saying? It starts to be already different.
Yeah,
I thought I was trying to show you that it's different clans. They go to different trains. One's, over here in Russia. The other ones are in Germany. I mean, it's totally different climate. It's anyway. And one goes down to the Balkans, to Greece, and then one goes down to the Middle East. I'm just saying. So that's why everything is different. Just go ahead.
Okay.
664, Z283, and Z93. R1AM417 is closely related to the spread of ancient corded ware culture in Europe. In this episode, we will look at the diffusion process of the subclade belonging to Z283 through a map. The diffusion process of L664 and Z93 will be introduced through another video.
And by the way, take a look. Stop for a second. So when it says Z whatever, it means R1A equals Z whatever. So it's like the parent subclade and then the small like versions.
Okay, yeah. The subcategory or what have you.
Right, correct. So you have like a main category, which is R1A, then all these little things break off in different, So that's why I've been saying, so it's actually, even though it's saying all these different Z, that's all R.
Oh,
It's just different, like I said, almost like clans or something, different families is splitting on you. Go ahead. I just wanted to make you understand that what you're seeing there is only R. Every one of those, all over the place, only R, but different versions, which came in at different times.
Okay.
At Z283's phylogeny first. R1AZ283 is the main branch of R1AM417. This group is the main branch in Central and Eastern Europe. Originating in the eastern steppes, R1AM417 settles in the Ukrainian region east of the Carpathian Mountains. These populations form R1AZ645. They migrate north and south of the Carpathian Mountains, giving birth to the Z283 and Z93 branches, respectively. That period is approximately 5000 BP or around 3000 BC. Remains identified as Z283 were unearthed in Estonia, Hungary, Slovakia, Czechia, and Germany. Negative numbers on the map mean calibrated BC. The year is indicated by the earliest date. Unearthed in Estonia in 2872 BC, Z283 belongs to the corded ware culture.
Pause for 1
The
second.
later Z.
The corded ware culture is part of Proto-Indo-European.
Right.
The one where it says steppe, see where it says steppe?
Yep.
Consider all that to be one group. The steppe group was the Yama.
Okay.
This is a steppe group that came from this parent group. But Yama has a different RB. They have R1B something, I can't remember. This one has RB and RA. Now, you get that RA is impossible to come from RB.
Okay.
Impossible. So some people say that these are the same, that the one here became the other one. Well, the parent did. Split off in a sense. One stays south and one goes to Germany or Poland.
Okay, yeah.
Trying to help you understand. So it is correct it came, but not like some people think like this culture got big and strong and then they branched out. That's wrong because nothing over here matches that DNA.
Interesting.
So the brothers is a better way of understanding or something or whatever.
Right. Yeah, like because they had the same parent, right?
Right.
Yeah.
So, but all the step is I can't remember off the top of my head, but it's very long anyways, but it's like R, B, 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 A, B, whatever, 1, 2, 3, it's just, but it's one kind. It's high. I can't remember now how exactly how many, but majority, let's put it that way, of all of this is one male lineage.
Oh, okay.
Where I already told you these two have two.
Right.
The corded ware. So they're really related. So people understand this, but they're not, to me, the same culture. And it's not true that these people evolved into these people. That you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Certainly it can't be true anyways, because one of them is R1A and RB can't become RA.
Right.
So anyways, just trying to
okay. Yeah.
But it's this culture, not the steppe one. It's this culture that where the Slavs come from.
Right, the purple.
Correct. Trying to people grasp, understand. It parented from the steppe, but it is not really Yama to me. It's different, which it is a different culture. They already know this.
Right.
It's also, if you look at the DNA, it's more specifically different. So I know I'm not expecting everyone to grasp everything I'm talking about DNA, but if they do, that's great. But I mean, if you don't, I'm just trying to get us to understand is it is this particular culture that Slavs come from.
Okay.
The 283 of 730 BC and 1103 BC corresponded to the Baltic Late Bronze Age. In this video, we will focus more on the diffusion pathway of R1A than on the explanation of the archaeological culture. Z283 from Romania, believed to have lived in 2350 BC, belongs to the Balkan Bronze Age. And the one from Slovakia is from the Apicorded ware culture. Excavations in Germany belong to the Middle and Late Bronze Ages. Branches of Z283 include Z282 and YP4758. Z282 plays an essential role in diffusion. Major branches belonging to Z282 have Z284, HIM458, and Z283.
Which, pause for a second. If you look at the picture itself, see where it says Z283. If you look at it above it, it has the actual thing, which is R1A.
Oh,
1A, 1B1. See, that's what.
Right.
That long ass number equals Z283. They're simplifying it. Just trying to help you understand. If you look at, like here it says M417. If you look above it, it says RA. You see why that branch is telling you that it's the RA and not from RB step people.
Right.
Even though they probably could have traveled together, or what I think more than likely happened, it's two different diffusions. Like two different clans come and then take two different areas, possibly. I mean, I just don't. Anyways, because some people, the reason I bring this point up is because some people think that Yama tried to take over the area and mixed 50% with the native population and become the Cordaware, but that can't be accurate.
Oh, okay. Because the DNA doesn't show that.
DNA is not, and the DNA splits. Look at when it split. It says right here, 6,000 to 5,400. Well, the Yama, the steppe people, don't become movers and shakers until about 5,000.
Right. So then this has already been moved.
It's already
past
happened.
There. Yeah.
So this is pre them. People. I mean, anyways. So I know it's confusing, but I'm trying to help understand it because they came from the same or similar place. Yes, that is true. And they had similar religion and similar language. This is also true. And they had similar pottery and mythology and, yes, all true.
Right.
But they're not exactly the same people. That's not true to me. Or not at least not fully accurate.
Right.
They're related.
Makes sense.
Then let's look at the haplogroup tree of our 1AZ284.
Like I said, I know some of this is a little maybe boring for people, but I really want people to grasp the fact that how it's related and stuff, how like one family in a sense or one, male lineage became all this people.
Mm-hmm.
This paternal lineage is related to the battle axe culture that flourished in the coastal regions of southern Scandinavia and southwestern Finland from about 2800 BC to about 2300 BC. Z284 is also found in places colonized by Norwegian Vikings, such as Scotland, England, and parts of Ireland. YDNA I1, R1b, and R1AZ284 are most commonly observed in Vikings. R1AM458, branched from Z283, is closely related to the corded ware culture formed between the Central European Cooper and the Early Bronze Age. This haplogroup is a Baltoslavic marker found throughout Central and Eastern Europe except for the Balkans. Limited observations are made in Western Europe. Among the branches of M458, YP256 spreads to Central Europe and Ukraine, Finland.
Pause for a second. So this just shows the first people in Slavs to Ukraine, right? But they don't come from Ukraine,
right?
Or originally they came from the steppe, Russia. But I'm just saying. Then they form, and then but also look at they're shooting all the way up to Finland. They're in Ukraine. They're in Czechoslovakia, or is that I'm not sure. But anyways, but then over to Germany, my point is, look at how many, just that one DNA, how many of these so-called states, that DNA. So when you say, original people, but where are you?
What do you mean by that? Yeah. Yeah. How do you get to that original people type of idea?
Yeah. Keep going, it gets worse.
And Slovakia. And another branch, YP1337, spreads to Russia, Poland, Lithuania, Slovakia, Czechia, Austria, and Slovenia. Some of the branches belonging to this paternal lineage spread to northeastern Europe. That's the L1029. YP515 can be found a lot in Poland. Among the branches of Z283, the object with the most diverse SNPs is our 1AZ280. It is associated with the Chalcolithic age in northeastern Europe.
Which is the copper
The key
age.
branches of this paternal lineage are the CTS1211, S24902, and Z92. CTS1211 spreads to most Slavic countries. And not only Germany and France, but also the Balkans.
Pause for a second again.
This is just everywhere, man.
Damien shows the real history of the world, shows that truly your borders are bullshit.
Yeah, that's right.
But go ahead. I digress.
Spain, and Italy. It spread to Russia, Ukraine, Belarus, Latvia, Sweden, and Finland to the northeast. The S2492 can be found in northwestern Europe, Poland, Belarus, Ukraine, Scandinavia, England, and Ireland. Z92 is a paternal line found in northeastern Europe, Scandinavia, Sweden, Poland, Ukraine, and Lithuania.
Yeah, borders are bullshit.
Yeah, like it just seems like pretty silly to say that, okay, well, the Slavs are from this place, right?
See, but now you're getting it because you're grasping the DNA,
Right.
That was the whole point of what I wanted to show. With the things I know, when people talk, I'm like, you don't know what you're talking about.
Right. Yeah, like it seems like there's Slavs everywhere.
Right? Here's the other thing. How many of them are really doing lots of boat work? Because remember, if Graham Hancock is correct, some of these people should be doing his boat stuff.
Right, when actually this is all within like the same land.
Oh, it's
area.
all landlocked almost.
Yeah.
Wow. Shocking. Even the ones they barely go to countries real close. Wow, totally not. Oh, you mean these are your mate seafarers? Like, wow, did they just stop seafaring? Anyways, that's why, like I said, when you understand the real DNA, what he says is just foolishness. Just as much as to me, borders. Look at this. Foolish.
Oh, yeah. No, that's right.
Well, I'm this. Oh, come on.
We must protect our country from outsiders. Yeah. What do you mean by outsiders, man?
but that's like I said, that's Cory. That's why I try to do is I try to be a revolutionary with my knowledge, show it in a way that grasp. Look at how ridiculous this shit is. It's not just my opinion.
Right. Yeah.
Literally.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Sure. Oh shit. There. That's where we were. Ish.
So far, we have studied the paternal DNA, or 1AZ283, related to corded work culture in Europe.
Okay. So that's actually the end of it.
Right. So people can grasp the stuff I'm talking about, right? Now I want you to read each thing, because when you read them, I'm gonna, in the video, I'm gonna put the pictures so they can look specific.
Okay.
Just a few points that you already heard.
So we've got, so we did the video. Now we're on to this picture. Countries with significant Slavic populations, 50% plus in dark green and 10% plus in light green. Present-day Slavs are classified into East Slavs, or Belarusians, Russians, Russians, and Ukrainians, and West Slavs, or Czechs, Kashubians, Poles, Slovaks, and Sorbs, and South Slavs, Bosniaks, Bulgarians, Croats, Macedonians, and Montenegrins, Serbs, and Slovenes. And then we've got another picture. 90% of the members of the current R1A haplogroup are derived from R1A M417 and relate back to an origin in the Lake Baikal area of Russia, Serbia. On the very right side of this picture.
Siberia, yeah. Because it's not like you said Serbia.
Yeah, Siberia, sorry.
Yeah.
On the very right, very right side of this picture, then going west towards present-day Poland, The picture is from the 136 time in this video, which is the spread of R1A associated with the migration of the Slavs and corded ware culture. Slavs are the largest European ethnolinguistic group. They speak the various Slavic languages belonging to the larger Balto-Slavic branch of the Indo-European languages. All Indo-European languages are descended from a single prehistoric language, linguistically reconstructed as Proto-Indo-European, spoken sometime in the Neolithic to early Bronze Age. The geographical location where it was spoken, the Proto-Indo-European homeland, has been the object of many competing hypotheses. The academic consensus supports the Kurgan hypothesis, which posits the homeland to be the Pontic-Caspian steppe in what is now Ukraine and southern Russia, associated with the Yamnaya culture and other related archaeological cultures during the 4th millennium BC to early 3rd
the
millennium
Yama was
BC.
the steppe where the green part that said steppe.
Yes. Yeah.
They become Yama, or their steppe DNA becomes the Yama culture.
Okay. The Indo-European family is divided into several branches or subfamilies, of which there are 8 groups with languages still alive today. So Albania, Armenia, Balto-Slavic, Celtic, Germanic, Hellenic, Indo-Iranian, and Italic, and another 9 subdivisions that are now extinct.
And by the way, Italic is like the Romans instead. The Greeks, the Romans, the Germans, the Celts, and Slavs, all are Proto-Indo-European. The people from Spain, Proto-Indo-European. They were the weaker people. So which also went to England as well, but conquered and killed pretty much, and same as they did in the people in Spain. I think it's 90% genocide, and the people in England, I think it's 80-90, and then I think same thing with Ireland, it's like 80, I think, or something.
Okay, wow.
Yeah, massive fucking killing.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Okay. We got another picture. The R1A M417 that contributed to the R1A in Europe, L644, Z283, and Z93. Picture is from the 150 time in this video. The spread of R1A associated with the migration of the Slav and corded ware culture.
I'm trying to slow down the picture so that people can take time and look at it,
Yeah, because in the video we watched, it does go by fairly quickly.
Well, and also it's assuming you understand a lot of things it's showing, like I do, and we're someone who doesn't really understand DNA, like, what is all this? It just sounds like a bunch of numbers.
Yeah, for sure. R1A Z283 from times 103 to 730, 1103 to 730 BCE, or 3126 to 2753 years ago, corresponds with the Baltic Late Bronze Age and the spread of R1A associated with the migration of corded ware culture, which is shown in purple, and much later the Slavs. The picture is from 316 time in this video, the spread of R1A associated with the migration of the Slavs and corded ware culture. Corded ware culture. The corded ware culture comprises a broad archaeological horizon of Europe between 3000.
Time. By horizon, they mean time, by the way.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
Well, I'm just clarifying because not that because even you.
It's not a horizon on.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Well, my point is that the way the scholars talk often is in a way that's not understandable to regular people, and unless you have this pre-understanding, it can be confusing.
No. Yeah, I didn't really think too much about it, but when you say it, it makes sense.
Yeah.
Between circa 3000 to 2350 BCE, or around 5023 to 4376 years ago. Thus, from the late Neolithic through the Copper Age and ending in the early Bronze Age. Corded ware culture encompassed a vast area from the contact zone between the Yamnaya culture and the corded ware culture in south-central Europe to the Rhine on the west and the Volga in the east, occupying parts of northern Europe, Central Europe, and Eastern Europe. The corded ware culture is thought to have originated from the westward migration of Yamnaya-related people from the steppe forest zone into the territory of late Neolithic European cultures, such as the globular, amphora, and funnel beaker cultures, and is considered to be a likely vector for the spread of many of the Indo-European languages in Europe and Asia. The spread, we've got another image.
And by the way, with the languages, obviously, goes culture and religion.
Right.
It doesn't mean they're exact, but because the Romans aren't exactly like the Greeks, and although that in some ways, because they knew about each other, they tried to copy, but they actually did start with a template that was similar religions because of similar language coming from a similar source with similar beliefs. So,
yep, that makes sense. The spread of R1A associated with the migration of the Slavs and corded ware culture. The spread of R1A M458 was associated with the migration of early Bronze Age corded ware culture and much later early Middle Age Slavs. Cover picture for the video. The spread of R1A associated with the migration of the Slavs and corded ware culture. R1A M458, primarily a Slavic subclade with maximum frequencies in Poland, the Czech Republic, Slovakia, but is also fairly common in southwest Ukraine and northwest Russia. Its subclade, R1A L260, is clearly West Slavic, with a peak of frequency in Poland, the Czech Republic, and Slovakia, and radiating at lower frequencies into East Germany, East Austria, Slovenia, and Hungary. And R1A Z280 is also a Balto-Slavic marker found all over Central and Eastern Europe, except in the Balkans, with a western limit running from East Germany to Switzerland and Northeast Italy. It can be divided into many clusters: East Slavic, Baltic, Pomeranian, Polish, Carpathian, East Alpine, Czechoslovak, and so on. Likewise,
so in a sense, just pause for a second. Yep. Just showing that these DNAs go to all these areas. Once again, look how ridiculous it is for borders.
Right. Likewise, its subclade R1A L365 is a Pomeranian cluster found also in southern Poland. So then we're on to the formation of Proto-Slavic according to Sorin Paliga from Sorin Paliga, Albanians, Romanians, Slavs, ethnicity, change, and politics in the second half of the first millennium CE. In new perspectives on the early Slavs and the rise of Slavic contact and migrations, edited by Thomas Clear, Vít Bosek, and Nicholas Janssens. And then we got another one. The origin and migration of Slavs in Europe in the 5th to 10th centuries CE, early Middle Ages. Original Slavic homeland, modern-day southeastern Poland, northwestern Ukraine, and southern Belarus. Early Slavs were a diverse group of tribal societies.
Not
Russians? Hey, that's not in the list, is it? Russia. Weird.
So Russians are Ukrainians that left? Oh, okay.
Interesting.
So that's why I joked before. I think you've seen it, or maybe you haven't. But I had put, instead of Russia, I wrote Eastern Ukraine.
Yeah, that's right.
But they don't get the joke if you don't understand the history. If you understand the history, it's actually funnier to me.
Right, for sure. Yeah, it makes sense. Well, yeah,
it's more like an inside joke against people that are saying Russia has the right to take over shit. I'm like, actually,
yeah. So then we've got a picture from Exposing Russian Colonialism. The expansion of Russia into Eurasia, 1300 to 1945. The history of Russia is the history of a country being colonized Migration and colonization of the country have been fundamental facts of our history. Vasily Klyuchevsky, Kurs Ruskoy Istory.
It was a Russian saying that their history of Russia is a history of colonization, which is accurate. It should be seen as very similar to the Americas, even though different imperialist powers, including being carried on continually by even the Soviets after the fall of czars and stuff. They didn't stop colonizing. Like, no,
right, yeah, still kept spreading, right?
Yeah, they absolutely did, and fighting natives, killing natives, and taking their land, and then changing their language and everything, outlawing shamanism. They outlawed shamanism. So they outlawed their religious practices. You can't be. So how is that not offending people? How that is? They're like, oh, glorious, I'm like, I think you need an anarchist perspective to come in here.
That's right.
Have an anarchist fact check this for a second.
Yeah. We need to question this power structure.
Yeah. Is this okay? No. Okay,
no, it
great.
is not. Yeah. Oh, back and.
So just recap real quick. So do you feel like you've learned anything? It's made you think, or what?
I think it paints a clear picture about like you say, like the way that Russia, quote unquote, Russia spread. Right. Like I think that like it's pretty hard to say that Slavs are like only in one country because it's obviously not.
It obviously is not true.
So, but that's the thing that like I imagine almost nobody actually knows, because that's like, I don't know. I sure didn't realize that the DNA was that, spread out like that.
Well, that's why I know that sometimes when I understand stuff and other people don't, and they think I'm wrong, I'm like, well, maybe you should look more what I'm talking about.
Right. Yeah.
You may not share that same opinion that you don't agree with me. That's why I said sometimes even some of my ideas, an archaeologist at first might think, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. And I'm like, well, go ahead and read it all.
Yeah.
And then see if you still feel the same way.
Yeah.
You're going to be so confident.
Yeah. That's right. We can have a discussion
But as you said before, correctly, I can still be wrong.
Sure.
So, or like I said about understanding more information, I now understand, okay, well, it is very likely and probably true that animism by itself made it into America first.
Mm-hmm.
So I need to update my thing because now I'm grasping this new understanding.
Yeah.
But so it's not that my other stuff I said before wasn't true. It's just that I was missing the element. I thought animism goes basically to China, starts to go north, and then it changes once it hits totemism and shamanism, and then it never is the same.
Yeah.
But now I understand, well, before those people got there, somebody might have made it over. And if those people made it over, then they had animism, even if it was evolved. And I'm not saying it was exactly the same as the stuff that left Africa.
Right.
But it wasn't shamanism. It wasn't totemism. It was something else. That was animism, maybe plus or something. I'd have to. But so anyway, so I still was wrong. That's all I'm trying to say is that, or I needed to a little update, and that's why I really told you before. People like Graham Hancock, when he assumes that all of his theories are 100% perfect, 20 years later, still 100% perfect. What the shit?
Yeah, I think that what you're demonstrating is like. Is the way that academic education is supposed to happen, how science is supposed to work, how like you don't necessarily throw out an entire theory because one thing was wrong. You adapt your theory to the new information so that it adjusts things to be true and more true.
More accurate, right?
Yeah.
More accurate. Now I understand, oh, okay, I was wrong. It must have that. So that means northern Far East Russia at one time was animist. I didn't think it ever was. So,
Right.
wow, that's a new thing to understand.
Yeah.
I thought the first people showed up 30,000 years ago, brought shamanism and totemism. And so animism by itself was not happening. But now I think, oh, well, there was people before 30,000 in America. Oh, well, then especially there's a DNA. You mean the one from Africa 100,000 years ago?
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, I need to rethink what.
Yeah.
I didn't, I wasn't thinking about what that meant. In other words, like, oh, here are the different DNAs. I wasn't contemplating, well, what does that actually mean? And I do know, as you see on the map, when you start saying DNA, it absolutely means things.
For sure, yeah.
Very equivocally.
Yeah, that's pretty good. Like that, we can learn about DNA now. We can learn about the different paths that it's followed, because it paints a very clear picture that didn't exist before.
Oh, absolutely not. But as you see, also, is it one culture that came over and made all that? No.
It would be very odd to make a claim that it was just one thing.
But
right?
but that's so you get that Graham Hancock's thing is just fucking ludicrous. Look at the DNA, it's all over the place. Like, come on. Yeah. No, that's not what happened, dude. Okay.
Right. And yeah.
But anyways, I'm just saying, but it even how I try to sometimes simplify it and put it in categories is so people grasp the big picture. Not saying this now you understand every aspect of religion.
Right.
It's just like the DNA. Look how complicated it is. I understand more that was going on in that than most people.
Yeah.
So, but it still could be, even for me, trying to get slow, because I'm trying to figure out what they're, what's being said and done, because I'm also not some kind of DNA scientist. I'm
right.
I'm not an academic. I'm just smart, and I look into things a lot. So,
yeah, and like with no background at all, like it's like you said, where it's all just a bunch of numbers, little dots with numbers on it,
right?
Until it gets a little bit more explained about it.
Well, even like you might even look at it and see that it has numbers and stuff, and not understand what it's really showing you, or how like the top red number is the R, the actual lineage.
Right.
This is a title in a sense, the Z whatever.
Categorization.
And then below that is the time that thing first evolved.
Yeah.
So I mean, if you don't grasp what is being shown to you, you're like, oh, it's all the numbers, and they're just jumping all over the place. And
without an explanation, that video is actually meaningless to somebody, right?
Exactly.
It's like it's just
because they're assuming that someone wants to watch that video. They're a DNA nerd, kind of like me.
Right. Yeah. They're making a lot of assumptions about their audience is what's going on there.
Yeah. Like that guy I told you that we were going to watch, but the Asian, when the archaeologist, when he says from China, and he goes, well, everyone knows that Siberia is where Shamanism comes from. I'm like, nobody knows that.
Who's everyone? Because none of the people I know that.
There's archaeologists that don't know that.
Yeah.
So you're totally wrong. Even in the field, that's not well known. I mean, I'm not saying that, once again, I'm not making a comment that no archaeologists know. I'm just saying.
Right. I'm sure it's well known among certain groups of people.
But I'm sure there's a lot that you say that and they would be like, I don't know that.
Yeah.
But anyways, it's also because they're specialized. So it's not, I don't agree with Graham Hancock like they're trying not to learn stuff.
Right. Yeah.
No, because they specialize. They're like some work on just pottery in one area, or just one time, like Roman or some Greek or whatever, even Native American, but only, say from 1000, CE to, contact or something, whatever, my point is, I'm saying is that it's more specific, that they're not, it doesn't mean just like me, like they can't learn all kinds of other stuff.
Right.
A lot of them do, just because, generally if you're in that field, you like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But
it's just not your specialization, right?
Right. And they also may not care, or they're too tired, or don't like working for free.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
Or me, I don't like working for free either. I just feel like that what I do is activism. Mm-hmm. Doing this type of like, I'm not really a nerd. Like I told you before, I don't really like reading. I would read nothing. I wouldn't learn anything. I'm sorry. I'm just worthless in that way to promote science. That I think it's important, but I'm saying my own will would be to have done nothing. But I realized I seem to have this a better ability to like think about things, and I seem real bold and have no problem saying things. So I would be good in front of people, telling people, and people seem to listen to me. So I should try to be informed and then inform others. And so that's what I'm just saying. So I don't think that everybody has to be free. I'm just saying for my thing, I thought I want to help the most people possible. And I really hate capitalism. So one way I can fight is by not engaging in capitalism. Even to my own detriment, but in a sense, towards humanity's well-being. And so, as an anarchist, that mattered to me. I do think everybody has to have a living. I mean, obviously, I do as well. Yeah. But I mean, so I'm not saying that, but I'm just saying that I realized I was in a unique position, to be able to do this for free, and not have it be like I wouldn't be able to live. Or be homeless or something. So I could spend 10 years and understand all this and then try to help teach people. So, and I'm still learning too. So that should be a never ending thing. I hate people that think they know it all and not willing to learn. Well, then you're obviously not good at learning if you aren't open to learn anything.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
All right. So, but go ahead and keep going. So,
all right. So, do we want to play the video we always play at the start of this section?
Yes, so people can know where we're talking about.
Okay.
By around 7,000 to 6,000 BC, people began to move south along the Tigris and Euphrates rivers to what were by then the fertile floodplains of Mesopotamia, specifically in the land that today makes up most of Iraq and parts of northern Syria. Mesopotamia, which means land between rivers, is the Greek name for the area, and it's here that early farms began to really take root on a much larger scale.
So that's where we're talking about.
Right. Mesopotamia.
All right. And then do we want to play the video, the next video?
Yes, correct.
Okay. So this is what we're talking about.
Right.
And so, Utu-Hegal defeated the Gutians and came back to Uruk to found its fifth known dynasty. He's the only ruler of that dynasty because unfortunately, he died shortly after becoming king, supposedly while inspecting one of Uruk's canals. He was succeeded by his son-in-law, the former governor of Ur, a man who went by the name Ur-Nammu, who himself founded his own dynasty in 2112 BC. Historians call it the Third Dynasty of Ur, also known as Ur III for short. The start of Ur-Nammu's reign also ushers in what we refer to as the Neo-Sumerian period. Not much is known about Ur-Nammu's early years, though it's believed that he may have supported Utu-Hegal in his short war against the Gutians. He was also married to Utu-Hegal's daughter. After securing his position as king, Ur-Nammu annexed the cities of Lagash and Eridu. Like Gudea a few decades prior, he seems to have wanted his subjects to view him more as a shepherd or father figure rather than as a conqueror.
Oh, well, of course. And pause for a second. Isn't that still true today?
Yeah.
Look at Joe Biden and wants to be seen as that NATO's this wonderful, glorying, thing on a hill that protects all humanity.
Yep.
It absolutely doesn't. But
yeah, they want to be the protector. They want to be the
right. Or they say Ukraine, because Ukraine is fighting a war, somehow he deserves the peace prize or whatever. I mean,
right.
I mean, my point is, or Russia, Putin's not saying I'm doing imperialism and fuck you. He's lying and saying, no, I'm trying to protect people. I'm denazifying,
Yeah, that's what I just thought of too. He wants to say I want to denazify things. I want to make the world safer. But
safer, right?
By starting a war, eh?
Yeah, by killing people. But my point is, I'm saying is, do you see how it's the same or similar? I mean, come on. These people have been yanking the authoritarian string forever.
Yeah.
The problem is it still works.
Yeah, unfortunately.
And like another past king of Lagash, Urukagina, Ur-Nammu also had a code of laws. Some believe that this may have actually been the first written code of laws in history and not that of Urukagina, whose actual code has not yet been discovered, but only referenced to in other documents.
Which
Though
to
the
me means it is possible that it did occur. Because the reason why it's important is to understand that these people that take over, that supposedly say they want to do order and care about people, immediately have to do laws because people are getting fucked under the system. And also, then they, at the same time, make themselves sound as if we're just, passing laws to protect people. It's these woke. We're trying to fight they're just trying to fight the woke army.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
The threat to traditional society.
Oh yeah, well that's right. It's a big deal, right?
Well, my point is, I'm saying I see it as the same and it's similar. Laws not only supposedly give you this thing of I'm a good guy, they also allow you to decide what is good and not good in a sense.
Yeah, that's right. And then like you say, like then you assume in many ways that the citizens they incorporate those laws into their morality, right?
Well, you're expecting it. That's what the whole point. That's what I'm saying. Which we know that's as an anarchist, that's horseshit. That laws are always built on morality. Wow, bullshit.
Yeah.
Or okay, so what morality exactly do you start with? Because I'll tell you what I do. That everybody is a self-sovereign, and there's no such thing as a border or a fucking country. So do we start with that? That sounds good to me.
Yep, exactly. For some reason, most laws don't follow that morality.
In fact, some of them violently oppose it.
Yep.
Most, actually, I would say.
Yeah, I would say almost all.
Wait a minute. Actually, no, it's pretty worse than that. Yeah.
Yeah, I think.
Well, also, what this a lot of these, especially these original laws, they go, they are harsher because they were killing, and then eventually they did the capitalist thing, and they just charge people money, so rich people can just pay their way through, like now. Right. And then the non-rich, well, I guess you go back to dying or being put in prison or tortured.
That's yeah, that's like actually not good.
No.
That we have is badly damaged. The original code is believed to have been made up of 40 paragraphs and contained both civil and criminal offenses along with their punishments. Here's a sample. If a man committed a kidnapping, he is to be imprisoned and pay 15 shekels of silver. If a man proceeded by force and deflowered the virgin slave woman of another man, that man must pay 5 shekels of silver. If a man appeared as a witness and was shown to be a perjurer, he must pay 15 shekels of silver.
There's a lot of politicians owe money.
Okay, but so raping the virgin slave woman of another man is worth less shekels of silver than lying in court.
Correct. Shows how much. Not only that, you're not paying it to the slave girl.
No,
you're paying it to the master.
Yeah, that's right.
Which is even more disgusting.
Yeah,
because the thought is that you've taken the master's chance to deflower himself.
Right.
Which is also just fucking disgusting.
Yeah, which is fucked up.
Good.
And knocked out the eye of another man, he shall weigh out half a mina of silver. If a man knocked out the tooth of another man, he shall pay 2 shekels of silver. If a man, in the course of a scuffle, smash the limb of another man with a club, he shall pay 1 mina of silver. Capital punishment was reserved for more serious crimes, such as murder or adultery.
As if adultery is...
Hold on now.
Right? Tell me.
Raping the slave girl is less heinous than adultery?
Yes.
Very...
Did it.
I don't like this.
Right? You already have a problem. But also, if you look at the lawgiver, right, sitting down, or that could be the deity with another, because they both, the reason their helmets, if you notice, their hats, they have the horns. One person doesn't, who's have their horn being pulled. The one sitting down could be a deity because of its the helmet with the horns, and then this other one could be a female deity with horns, or it could be a king and a deity. But also, if you notice, they have the upside down moon and then the Venus star for the two deities.
Interesting.
So
many of the punishments seem rather lenient, even by our standards today, as it appears that in most cases, those convicted of crimes merely had to pay a fine as punishment.
Yeah, so that's I don't see how he thinks that's different than today.
Yeah.
How many so a kid goes in and steals a pack of gum, right? So it's a couple years, but like Bernie Madoff steals like freaking epic billions, right, or something? Or
yeah, that's million. Right. Yeah,
and they're like, yeah, well, it's not that bad.
Yeah,
like literally compared to if you did it for the crime, that how bad you'd go after the person stealing at a store compared to what that is. He should be compounded that much, but it's not. It's the exact opposite.
Right. Yeah. It seems like then as now, it seems probably like the punishment is class-based.
Oh, absolutely. See, you said it more eloquently than I said it. I was trying to make that point. That's a very good, astute way of saying it. That yes, that's what I'm trying to say is, because of the monetary thing, it becomes class-based. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Who is also credited by many historians for starting what's known as the Sumerian Renaissance. Reversing the past policies of Sargon and his successors, all of whom actively promoted the Akkadian language, Ur-Nammu and his descendants instituted policies and programs where Sumerian language and culture would reign supreme. Sumerian was made the official language of the government and heavily promoted in the creation of new art and literature. The heroic epics and hymns of old, such as the Epic of Gilgamesh, were circulated and recited in public, and new ones were composed. The goal was to bring back Sumer's identity as a Sumerian nation after nearly 2 centuries of Akkadian rule and the instability that followed.
So there were
all right, got it. What's that?
Nationalism.
Yeah.
Sumerian nationalism. Okay. I get it now.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, it's so different than today. No, not really.
Not as different as we might wish.
Yeah, no. Yeah.
So many new construction projects, as well as restorations of iconic old buildings. For example, it was during Ur-Nammu's reign that the Great Ziggurat of Ur was expanded to the towering height that can still be seen today.
And so if you notice, Ziggurat, in a sense, is a kind of pyramid before the Egyptian pyramids.
Right.
And I see it almost kind of like a lot of the stuff in the Americas, the type. Well, eventually they become more like Egyptian pyramids, but that's not how they start, in a sense. A lot of them, in a sense, start, especially like the mound people, like, in the Great Lakes and down, they do like a platform. So do some of the shell mound people. That's kind of like a big, long platform. And then on the platform, they build the temple. So it's like raising it up like in the mountains, because it also relates to gods being on top of the mountain, that kind of belief. So I'm just saying, That's why in Egyptian, they see the first land in their creation story as a pyramid. So that's why I feel like it's a mountain in a sense. So that's why, and it's a mountain belief in a desert, flatland. So it also, but it shows you it's from somewhere else. But that doesn't mean like every single part of the religion is from somewhere else. This is like not accurate. That's like, no. And I'm not saying that they taught how to build it. I'm saying it is similar mythological thinking.
Yeah.
Just like this is not exactly like the mounds like in America. They're built like are only dirt. This is, mud brick, so it is dirt in a sense.
Right.
But it's or fired brick, but on the outside maybe. But so it still is relatively the same thing. Just like even the pyramid, only the outside is totally, it's not like every single part of the pyramid is 100% exact.
Right.
The same with ones even in Mexico. Like the outer crust is sometimes different than the inner stuff. how it's built. But I do not think that the technology of building spread. I think the concept mythologically of that mountains relate to ancestors and gods, and that's how you reach the gods is the top of the mountains. I think that inspired building these platforms of specialness or whatever, to me. But I was just trying to say is that's not the same as saying they're really connected. They're not. They're connected more like through this older shamanistic belief in mountains. Let's put it that way. That I think comes from the Golden Mountains of Siberia, which is in between Lake Balka and not that far general area, which is also where the Destain come from, that general area, and also where the Mongols and the Turks kind of come from and relate to. So anyways, we'll get into all Asia stuff later, but I just want to say, so to me, that if you look at what it is, it's not like a pyramid. If you notice, what building, but it clearly has much smaller than the outer larger building.
Right. Anyways. All right.
Though Ur-Nammu set the Neo-Sumerian era in motion, it was during the 47-year reign of his son and successor, Shulgi, that the Ur-3 Empire reached the height of its prosperity, size, and artistic achievements. Shulgi was quite a character, and by his own accounts, larger than life. If the many hymns dedicated to him are true, then during his reign, between 2094 to 2047 BC, many, including Shulgi himself, considered him to be a god. The words of one hymn dedicated to Shulgi describe him as a prodigy. Written in the first person, it goes like this. I am the king. From the womb I have been a hero. I am Shulgi. From the time I was born, I have been a mighty man. I am the lion with a ferocious look, born by the dragon. I am king of the four corners. I am the keeper, the shepherd of the black-headed ones. I am the noble one, the god of all the lands.
And I am humble beyond belief.
I'm the most humble guy you'll ever meet.
Right. Yeah. Okay, Putin. Oh, well, sorry. Biden? Oh, yeah.
Yeah, like what this actually makes me think of was Trump, right?
Yeah.
Like, I know more about this than anyone else. I'm better at that than anyone else.
Yeah.
You'll never find anybody more humble than me.
Yeah. No one's less racist than Trump.
No one's less racist than me.
Like, yeah, that's bullshit.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, but my point was that even to me, Biden or any of them, even any leader, even Trudeau or whoever, they have this thinking. I feel like I'm this great. I've been great since I was, I'm this. Yeah, that's similar bullshit. Leaders love to fucking. And then I also really hate this about, I don't know all countries, but in mine, America, the way that both the Democrats and Republicans are sycophantish to their leaders it makes me want to throw up in my mouth. Because I feel like when the king says all this, they're like, oh my God, great answer. Like in Family Feud when they're like, what's a name for a shoe? You're like, Nike. They're like, yeah, great answer. Well, this one would not be a great answer. This is not a humble, kind, great person. This person saying all this is a good evidence of the exact opposite.
It always makes me think of the old saying like that. The best leaders are the people who don't want to be leaders.
Exactly.
If you grow up your whole life thinking I'm going to be a great king, then maybe you're not going to be that great at this.
Right, and certainly, will you listen to advice if you think like Trump, you're already great?
Right, exactly. Yeah.
Or will you think that you maybe even let's say the conservatives, are you going to reconsider that some actions are not correct? Like, if you say you're a small government, why in the fuck do you totally celebrate the guy in Florida, my governor, doing the most in a sense democratic shit, forcing shit, telling schools how to teach that's small government?
Yeah, imposing the will of the government into the very personal lives of individuals
is but I'm saying and yet you still like him? You're okay with this? This doesn't outrage you at all? If it was a Democrat doing the same stuff, you guys would be burning shit down.
Yeah.
And the same thing with the liberals. The Democrats, they have like, oh, Obama did no wrong. And I'm like, that's absolutely not true.
It's funny, like when it was during the primary and the pre-election of Biden, there was a lot of people that I used to follow that were very like, oh no, of course we're going to criticize Biden and we're going to hold his feet to the fire and we're going to make sure that we're being honest about this. We aren't like the Republicans. And then Biden gets in and all of a sudden he does no wrong. Every criticism is, oh, you're just a right winger. You're just a Republican. Oh, you're just like, no matter how bad he is, you can't say anything about him without being accused of being a right wing troll.
Right. Just like when I brought up why I brought up this stuff about Ukraine anyways on the Democrat side. Because at first I feel like we addressed the Marxist-Leninist side, but then the next one was correcting some of the Democratic or liberal opinions about what the fuck is going on or who these people are. I feel like it's not being. Yeah. So to me, that's why I told you that my outreach is really towards everybody. I want to try to enlighten anarchists and socialists. I want to enlighten everybody I can with ideas, even if they disagree with me. I really want them to start thinking more. I do that. Right. I challenge. You've seen me. I have updated since you've known me ideas that I've held for a long time.
Yep.
Generally, facts move me better than anything else, but
right. Yeah. It's typically not just rhetoric that'll do the trick.
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
But I feel like that's why I said to follow. Don't follow just what I believe. Follow how I'm trying to get people to think and how I try to hold myself. Because if you do that, I think you're going to be better off.
Yeah.
So.
Such hymns were sung both in temples and in public, and were meant to inspire Shulgi's flock, as he'd call them, to have faith in him as their protector, much like sheep are watched over and protected from wolves by a good shepherd.
I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, now that I've conquered you, guess what the good news is? You're a bunch of sheep.
Yeah, my sheep, my flock. Yeah, you have to follow.
Us the anarchists are going. Yeah, don't add me to that.
Take me off your mailing list, motherfucker.
While such hymns may have praised Shulgi's wisdom and prowess in battle, the reality was that the Ur-3 state's prosperity was due not to its god king's divine intervention or powers, but rather the highly efficient, centralized government that ran the empire.
I'm sorry. Again, what? I don't think that's an accurate, like, it just doesn't give the citizens any credit, right?
It doesn't. But this goes back to why also I wanted to talk about all this stuff too, is because I wanted to show you how, and I'm not trying to, or you're not trying to put words in a historian's mouth or someone reading about history, but sometimes the things they say as an anarchist make me go, oh, okay, hold on a second. What the fuck did you say?
It sounds like you're making some assumptions here. I don't know. I don't know the facts. I don't know exactly what's happening here, but I tend to find that the people are the ones that maintain their society and the government gets the credit.
Or the one person does. Yeah.
Yeah. Exactly. Or the king gets credit or,
Yeah.
Yeah. Not a fan.
Or the central government or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
See, also you got to remember, like, when they say things are working well, what do they mean? Well, they mean is full totalitarian control. Well, I don't know if I would agree that's a good state of being.
Yeah, that's right. What are the statistics here? Like, did they keep track of how many starvations there were? What was the economic inequality like?
Yeah, definitely. When it class structured is what it was, hierarchical.
Yeah, it was definitely hierarchical. So who was it working for? Was it it was working for the ruling class, clearly.
Exactly.
But
yeah. Well, it's like that's why I said it's kind of hard for me to look at this stuff and act like there's no kind of capitalism or or at least not the seeds of it. Are you kidding me? So
Right.
all this stuff going on, all this oppression, all this class structure, all this hierarchy that is still the same, but just putting different people on top.
Yeah.
And still military. I mean, it's all that you get. We're calling it different. I mean,
there's still there's still laborers working for wages.
There are and unfair wages
and not fair wages, and the profits are still going to their bosses.
Yeah, you get what I'm saying. That I understand. They feel like, well, that was if they may, or like, I shouldn't say I don't know exactly what they think, but I feel like they think, well, that's just an isolated incident. Okay, then it was an isolated incident of capitalism.
Right.
That's how I see it. I mean,
yeah. No, I think it's fair to say that this probably wasn't the practice worldwide.
Oh,
right?
Yeah, I agree. Yes, I agree. It was not. So if they mean capitalism, it has to be some, later thing. But if you read what Marx has said, says, and then the fact is that there is petty bourgeois, which are still capitalists.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, then you certainly, like I said, that one anthropologist, anthropologist and an anarchist, he said there has pretty much always been this stuff going on, especially after agriculture. Yeah, because the difference in agriculture over hunter-gatherers, even though some hunter-gatherers have sedentary lifestyle to an extent, they generally call that complex, I think, hunter-gatherers, but whatever.
Okay.
My point is, I'm saying, though, is still they don't accumulate stuff as much as full sedentary farmers or whatever,
right,
compared to hunter-gatherers. Ones that do, like, say, 90% of their farming, in a sense, they're going to have surplus.
Yeah.
Which someone else might come and steal or tax and call that, central government.
Which is why they hire a military or cops or what have you
exactly
to protect their property.
Exactly. And in fact, and then you look at the laws, they're about property.
Yeah.
They're property laws. Hell yeah. They do also address wages and stuff, but it's not to make sure the worker gets their full wage.
Right. Like there was almost a minimum wage in the one that we viewed.
There
right?
was a minimum wage. No, literally, I don't know what else you want to call it but a minimum wage.
Yeah.
That's why I said I find it really hard when they draw these hard lines. Yes, I understand it developed, it became more and more fucked up and more, in a sense, over the whole earth and shit. But it's still, there's places that it's not exactly the norm, but like I told you, to me, I just feel like, whatever. I'm not going to argue with historians or whatever, or people about capitalism. I'm going to say, this is my thinking. If you don't like it, fine, but this is still my thinking.
But either way, we still have to be anti-capitalist.
I'm still anti-capitalist, but I'm saying, to me, I still feel like I can see this behavior happening. And what else are we calling this shit? Yeah. But anyways, whatever. I'm not, like I said, it's my opinion. There are people who don't like it. That's fine.
So be it.
You're wrong. No.
Yeah.
One thing that the kings of the third dynasty of Ur did adopt from the Akkadian regime was their model of a centralized, highly bureaucratic system of government. This became extremely important as the Ur III state expanded from a moderately sized kingdom into a full-fledged empire with a vast network of territories and tributary states.
If the goal is colonization and imperial domination, and
they were very successful, right?
But you notice how he always says that this is the good transformation. They always see it, that's the positive. That's when things finally came together. Yeah. I don't think the people in Ebla were so keen on the people from Ur controlling them.
Yeah, that's right. That's why they left military there, because they couldn't control them otherwise, right?
Exactly.
They were just like voluntarily part of their empire.
See? Yeah.
We know a tremendous amount with regard to the inner workings of how the state functioned during Shulgi's reign, because there's virtually no other period in ancient Near Eastern history where such a large quantity and variety of documentation has been discovered. Approximately 100,000 That's right, I said 100,000 of these texts have already been translated, with thousands more in museum storerooms waiting to be examined. It's impossible to go over every subject covered in these documents, but the most common topics and themes revolve around economic activity, agriculture, manufacturing, construction, domestic and foreign trade, distribution of resources, food rations.
Nothing to do with capitalism. Although, pretty much, if you explained all those things, nowadays they would say, well, now you're talking about capitalism.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Seems like capitalism.
Yeah, I mean, or certainly this is the seeds of what led to it. If it wasn't for this, there wouldn't be capitalism the way that we know it today, because just like there's the state, it's wrong to think that the state came out of nowhere. It came out of this shit.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Modern states are not a new phenomenon in the way that people imagine they might be.
And it's not a new phenomenon that they oppress and colonize.
No. That's
literally right. That has always been what they done.
Yeah, that's right.
Military supplies, troop deployments, taxation and other sources of revenue, the application of various laws, and the like. Though the vast majority of these are government documents, meaning that they give us little information with regard to private citizens and businesses, we still get a window into how the state dealt with the many civil servants, farmers, herdsmen, builders, priests.
Yeah. What's that?
Civil servants, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Bureaucrats.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of funny, actually. Like you say, like these are government documents that don't say anything about what people thought. They don't say anything about, businesses, whatever they looked like at that time.
But just think, and what it's also saying is, it's pretty hard to say you're about the people when none of your documents even give a fuck about the people.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, how is this? Like, there's very little information about how are the citizens living? What are they doing? Like,
right. And you know, with all them laws, things were happening and people were also contesting it and trying to go to court and say it is or isn't. Why don't we hear, a lot more of that kind of stuff?
Yeah,
they don't care. They care about the law. Oh, kind of like now, the cops, they go, I'm just following the law. They don't care about you and your feelings.
Yeah.
Learn that shit.
Yeah, that's right.
Soldiers and scribes that it worked with. Taxes were not paid in silver or gold, but in goods such as grain, livestock, textiles, or even pottery. Basically, each province paid taxes to the central government in Ur, but these were not paid throughout the empire on the same day, or even in the same month. That would have been too difficult for even the large bureaucracy of the Ur-3 state to manage. Instead, each province, of which there were at least 20 of them, paid their share of taxes during a particular month. The next month, another province, or provinces, would pay their yearly tax. This system was called bala, which means exchange. Along with being easier to manage, the bala system helped to ensure
exchange that only happens from everywhere else.
It's just one direction.
One direction. Yeah, that's not even change on the mind. Don't you love how they even try to make it sound good? So the propaganda is also old.
Yeah, that's right. I know what we'll call it. We'll call it bala. That way, the citizens won't object to it because there's an exchange going on.
Right. I don't kill you. I don't burn your businesses. It's like the mafia. Look.
Yeah, that's right.
If you don't want this window broken, it would probably be good if you gave me some money.
Yeah, that's right. It's the monopoly of violence that the state holds can be used to exploit, I guess, people's.
Oh, I like
production.
that. Exploit's good. No. Yep. That's perfect.
Yep.
What the fuck else is it going on? Exploiting.
Yeah,
but even
exploitation.
But I really don't like how historians try to but then again, it could be because they're employing the fact of looking at culture and thinking that it's all relative. So cultural relativism,
right,
can allow you to, they thought it was good. So as long as the leaders thought it was good, well, then it was good. right?
Right. Yeah. We don't have to hear from the citizens. We just have to hear
Citizens
from
probably hated that shit.
Whoever we hear from, though, that's who matters.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's also a very liberal capitalist democracy filter, right? Like it's very well, of course you're going to pay taxes, and the way that you get those taxes is by doing this thing and what have you. So we set up a system to bring in the taxes intermittently because it's hard to get the taxes from Elba way back in the other corner of the empire.
Yeah, right. 300 miles away or whatever it is.
Yeah.
Or more. So I don't know how far, but yeah.
But far enough, right?
Yeah, it's far. It's probably that far or farther. It could be 1,000 miles. I'm not, I think it's, but I don't know. So, but I'm saying it's far.
Yeah. Yeah. So it makes,
it's the Persian Gulf all the way to northern Syria or all, so yeah.
However far that is.
Far.
Yeah.
Huh? Yeah. I don't know. But I mean, I'm just saying, if people know those countries, I'm just saying that they're certainly not together.
But yeah, it's a very like you say, like it's the capitalist or liberal hegemony, it's very much like the state was correct and this is how they behaved and this is what we do now, and it's totally rational and it works perfectly. This is what we call efficient.
Yeah, and that includes even conservatives sometimes sound like that.
Oh yeah, by liberal I mean like Western liberal democracy, not like liberal versus conservative.
I do know what you meant, but I wanted to clarify so other people understand that.
Yeah.
I get that you're meaning it as a larger concept that also conservatives are under. They just don't realize it. They don't realize that. Well, actually, that seems really the better way of saying it. Actually, is that liberals are often really conservatives that think that they're leftists.
Yeah, and liberal, the term liberal doesn't mean liberal party or
right, correct,
or Democrats. It's because we all live in a liberal democracy. But.
Well, and I call myself a liberal because the concept of what a liberal is, not their concept of how they use it, but in a sense, to me, something a little bit different. But to me, the fact of being open to new ideas, that part I agree with.
Right. Yeah.
So that I as opposed to traditionalism, which is conservative, supposed to be the opposite of, but that's not actually, because when you really get down, like you're saying, the conservatives are doing liberal democracy, and the people that are calling themselves Democrats or liberals, they're actually
conservatives in their philosophy.
So it's really kind of a fucked up situation.
Because words don't mean anything, actually. It's all just nonsense. Yeah.
Well, but that's part of the propaganda, is it not? To make it so people do not grasp what's really going on.
Yeah.
So the conservatives are being liberal and the liberals are being conservative. And these people think somehow they're not. And that is, I think, part of the shtick.
Yeah, it is. It makes it hard to question power or to undermine power if you don't know how it works.
Exactly. And certainly don't take the state's opinion for all the products in the entire 1,000 area, whatever, all to one little tiny town. That's all just natural and normal, is
right? Right. It's like the Government of Canada website. There are many Indigenous reservations that do not have clean drinking water in Canada. But if you go to the government website, they will list how many they've given clean water to. So if in the future, in 1,000 years, somebody looks back and all they see is the website from the government and they believe exactly what it says, what are they going to think? They're going to think, oh, look how great this government was. They gave all these Indigenous communities clean drinking water, and they have no idea how many didn't get it, what the process was that it caused that to happen. Like, you're missing all the context of society by listening just to the government.
And reading government documents like they're talking about reading, and then assuming, but he did say we don't really know the people. Yeah, but then you totally forget about that and just act like, okay, now we'll just go with their what side is.
Yeah, so the government documents are 100% true because we don't know anything about the people.
Right. This is actually something that I think a lot of people don't grasp. It is more common to me, at least this is my opinion, because once again, I don't want to speak that, but to me, this is true. So I'm just saying.
Yeah.
In my experience or opinion, what I've seen, because I've interacted with a lot of historians and a lot of archaeologists, more than general public, certainly. And to me, historians do a good job explaining history, but they tend to like the most exciting. So the kings and the stuff, they focus way more on that, right? And I feel like archaeologists often focus more on everything, which ends up being the regular people more than the leaders in a sense, because they're looking at, in a sense, all the artifacts, not like this guy just reading the history of the empire.
Right.
So, and it's not that, so I just want to make a comment about that. I'm not saying that I think that historians have some bias towards kings, which it can sometimes sound like. It's because they're two different things. One is studying what was the kings talked about, so of course you're talking about them, and the other is looking at the actual archaeology of the people's lives, which then ends up being more about the people than just about leaders.
Yeah. And we all live in a society, and we talk about our leaders every day, and we hear about leaders every day, and that's part of, I mean, historians are people who live in society and have the same things going on as
right. So, but I just want to say, I don't think it's inherently a bias. I think it's also because of what they're doing.
Yeah.
They're reading the documents. Well, who fucking wrote the documents? The leaders. So, I mean, that's all I'm saying.
Yep.
And then also, I think it feeds into the general public. It's like Graham Hancock's crap.
Right.
It's exciting. Oh, people are wrong. You use secret knowledge. And like, oh my God. So in a sense, I feel like the same way. What's the most exciting to the historian may be the whole picture, like an archaeologist, though. The whole experience. But is that what the general public cares about? No. Who ruled who? Who killed who? Or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, who won? Don't tell me about the losers, you know.
Yeah, that's right.
But anyways, but I'm just saying. So I know the external pressure. So that doesn't mean that, once again, that there's some big cabal of big history.
No,
it's fucking ridiculous. Not. But I mean, what I'm just saying is that the pressures. We're, like you said, we're in a thing where we're constantly under all these pressures. That's why I think it's good to have this rechecking of your beliefs all the time.
Yeah.
Because we're like, I told you before, to me, unlike some atheists think we don't have beliefs. Crazy. But to me, it's the exact opposite. I feel like we're belief machines. We go around and we just believe shitloads of stuff constantly. And then it's like a whole life of believing tons of shit. And we've got to fucking unlearn some of it, you know, also.
It takes active work to not believe things that are coming at you.
Yes.
Otherwise you're like, and I think we all experience it when we're reading something and then it just becomes a thing we believe. Yes. We don't question it. We don't think twice. We don't read something else that contradicts it. It just becomes the thing we believe.
And that's why I say we have got to have belief maintenance.
Yeah.
And then belief relinquishment. Get rid of that shit. Because even if you figure it out and then you keep it, oh, that's not good.
Right.
That's not good. So that's why I think it's important to do the whole thing. We should always strive for reasoned belief acquisitions, trying to get good beliefs. But we're terrible. I'm a fallibilist. I start with, we're terrible.
We're bad at this.
With this atheist thing. Oh, I believe nothing. Oh my God. Seriously.
Yeah, that's right.
But so I start with the thing that I know I'm going to fuck up. I know that I'm going to be in error. So I then constantly update and make sure I'm correct. And then I try to adapt to the new correction, which I think is what science does also. That's why I don't think it's correct to say science doesn't really do truth. Well, what they don't do is, in a sense, they don't do very many fixed truths.
Right.
But they do those also, which I also disagree with them. I'm like, okay, hold on a second. Are you trying to say there's not stars in the sky? That this is not a planet? Is there any time in the future where this will not be, in a sense,
will this change based on some new information?
And some, you know, will it turn flat? I mean, are you saying that is going to become a reality? No.
Yeah.
Okay, then that's the truth.
Yeah. The evidence is too strong. It is now a thing.
Anyway, but I understand. it's really hard because I'm a rationalist and how I think about things is a different approach. This I want to tell people. I'm not saying that rationalist is the safest position. The safest position is a skeptic, even though I am not one. Because the safest position is to realize you're going to be in error and to not believe it.
Right.
The unsafe thing is what I do, which is try to believe things that are accurate, which is harder because you're going to fuck up. But see, that's why I try to tell you, think like me. But I don't think I'm perfect, or there is any ever fucking such thing as this.
Right.
So,
The trouble with skeptics becomes that we often become like rigid in our beliefs, and will anything that comes out in contradiction with it, we'll go, nope, we'll just bat it away. And that gets us really stuck in a status quo mindset.
And they did a study on rationalists and skeptics. I looked at it a long time ago, so it's not a current study. Just making a point. I don't know if it's 8 years ago or something, 5 years. But they did it, maybe it's longer, I'm not sure. But anyways, they did a study, and they showed that rationalists make more mistakes than a skeptic because they believe some things they probably shouldn't. Skeptics do not believe some things that they probably should.
Yeah.
So going back to your statement. But see, if you grasp from my thing, we're both in error, right?
Yeah.
So when I say that I feel like my way is better, I'm not saying that it is without errors. Okay, that's what I'm trying to wrong. Damien says he's a fallibilist. Go look that shit up. I almost don't believe that we ever are fucking accurate in a sense.
Yeah,
but we should always be open to amending because but it's not a threat. Do you see what I'm saying? When you grasp that this is the state of things, am I threatened by new information that changes stuff? No, because I already expect that shit.
Yeah, that's right.
So go ahead, let's watch the rest.
Okay.
Sure that the government would receive at least some income every month. Though things during Ur-Nammu and Shulgi's reigns seem to have been peaceful at home, war and conquest were still very much a part of the Ur-3 Empire. Ur-Nammu is said to have been killed in battle against resurgent groups of Gutians, while Shulgi, after claiming to have avenged him, led campaigns into Elam and brought the cities of Susa, Anshan, and even the distant kingdom of Marhashi into his orbit.
And pause for a second. So he's mad at the Gutians up there in the north, so he goes to the south and attacks that country. Yeah, I totally get it.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I'm mad at these guys over here, so I'm going to attack this guy over here. Yeah. Because he's an easier target.
Right. Because they are a lot tougher. So he's not going, But once again, it's so it wasn't this peace. What do you mean they had times of peace? They absolutely did not have times of peace.
Yeah. They were still attacking and everything all the time.
Like a state.
Yeah, like a state does.
For the most part, Shulgi's reign of 47 years was one of great stability, progress, and prosperity for both Sumer and Mesopotamia in general.
Elite.
Okay, that's the end of that one, I guess.
And I just ended it with, it was good for them in general for the elites. It does not mean that every single worker was going, wow, this is the greatest thing ever.
Yeah, that's right. Like when they say that the country was doing well, what does that mean, right?
Yeah.
Does that mean that the citizens were? Because I bet it doesn't mean that the poorest people in the country were doing well.
Yeah. Well, they're obviously, like you said, they get a minimum wage, so they're not getting a full wage.
Right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. They're still not getting the full value of their labor.
No, which I think is one of the purest understanding of why capitalism is not good is right there. I mean, a bunch of things, but that I think once you grasp that, and it's not even that they don't. To me, what's so evil is they actually make money off of the workers instead of making money off of, say, the product, and then everyone benefits. That's what they always try to make it sound like Starbucks. We're all partners, all the workers. Yeah, right. So you've got the yacht, and I'm struggling. Okay.
Yeah, that's right. You've got a yacht, and I'm making minimum wage. We're not partners.
Yeah. What the fuck?
Yeah.
You know, and how much coffee have you been making? Well, actually, I'm, so. But to me, the anarchists understand this. They seem to be purely, duh.
Yeah, for sure. So I guess we've got still the rest of the script for this one.
Yep.
All right. So the third dynasty of Ur. The third dynasty of Ur, also called the Neo-Sumerian Empire, refers to a 22nd to 21st century BCE, or middle chronology, Sumerian ruling dynasty based in the city of Ur, and a short-lived territorial political state which some historians consider to have been a nascent empire. The third dynasty of Ur is commonly abbreviated as Ur III by historians studying the period. It is numbered in reference to previous dynasties, such as the first dynasty of Ur from 26th, 25th century BCE, but it seems the once supposed second dynasty of Ur was never recorded. Cool. The third dynasty of Ur was the last Sumerian dynasty which came to preeminent power in Mesopotamia. It began after several centuries of control by Akkadian and Gutian kings. It controlled the cities of Isin, Larsa, and Eshnuna, and extended as far north as Upper Mesopotamia. The third dynasty of Ur arose sometime after the fall of the Akkad dynasty. The period between the last powerful king of the Akkad dynasty, Shar-Kali-Shari, and the first king of Ur III, Ur-Nammu, is not well documented, but most Assyriologists posit that there was a brief dark age.
Because they consider Assyria is one of the things, in a sense, that controlled Mesopotamia. They were an empire, Assyrian empire.
I see. Posit that there was a brief dark age followed by a power struggle among the most powerful city-states. On the king lists, Shar-Kali-Shari is followed by 2 more kings of Akkad and 6 in Uruk. However, there are no year names surviving for any of these, nor even any artifacts confirming that any of these reigns was historical, save one artifact for Dudu of Akkad, Shar-Kali-Shari's immediate successor on the list. Akkad's primacy instead seems to have been usurped by Gutian invaders from the Zagros Mountains, whose kings ruled in Mesopotamia for an indeterminate period, 124 years according to some copies of the king list. Only 25 according to others. An illiterate and nomadic people, their rule was not conducive to agriculture nor record keeping, and by the time they were expelled, the region was crippled by severe famine and skyrocketing grain prices. Their last king, Tirigan, was driven out by Utu Hengal of Uruk. The military and conquests of Ur III. In the last century of the 3rd millennium BCE, it is believed that the kings of Ur waged several conflicts around the frontiers of the kingdom. These conflicts are believed to have been influenced by the king of Akkad. As we have little evidence of how the kings organized their forces, it is unclear whether defensive forces were in the center or outside the kingdom. One of the things we do know is that the second ruler of the dynasty, Sogi, achieved some expansion and conquest. These were continued by his 3 successors, but their conquests are less frequent with time. At the height of the expansion of Ur, they had taken territory from southeastern Anatolia, or modern Turkey, to the Iranian shore of the Persian Gulf, a testimony to the strength of the dynasty. The armies of Ur did bring back precious booty when they conquered a place. There are hundreds of texts that explain how treasures were seized by the Ur III armies and brought back to the kingdom after many victories.
Right, and that's one of the reasons that they often would do stuff is to get, even like the Vikings didn't always just conquer everybody. Sometimes and even the Mongols, they would just get tribute.
Right.
In other words, they would threaten you, say we're gonna kill you all. And you're like, well, what if we gave you some money? They're like, well, how much money? And they're like, a whole bunch of gold. Yeah, make that like 1,000 pounds of gold, and then we have a deal.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, we're good. We will not conquer you today.
Right, today, because they may come back in 2 years and go, now I'm ready to reinvestigate this.
Yeah.
Or like there was one deal where they were supposed to pay every a year or month. I can't remember. I think every year. And then they stop and then not paying because they don't want to. Why would you?
Yep.
And
Yeah.
threat money.
Yeah. So then you get conquered.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, in some texts, it appears that the Shulgi campaigns were the most profitable for the kingdom. It is most likely the main people who benefited from the spoils were kings and temples that were back in the main parts of the kingdom. Well, yeah.
Right. In other words, even though kings were conquering and getting money in new lands, that didn't mean, once again, about the trade system. You mean the taxes all went there, and then when they conquered shit, well, that was all theirs also. So really, it's mostly all theirs.
Yeah, that's right. What about the people?
We built you a pyramid for me and for you, though, because then you can know that we're praying to God.
Yeah, that's right. Conflicts with northeastern mountain tribes. The rulers of Ur-3 were often in conflict with the highland tribes of the Zagros mountain area who dwelled in the northeastern portion of Mesopotamia.
Which
the
is
most important. Okay. The most important of these tribes were the Cimmerium and the Lullaby tribal kingdoms. They were also often in conflict with Elam.
And Elam is also in Iran, but it's southern Iran.
Okay.
Or south central, I guess it would probably be.
Military rulers of Mari. In the northern area of Mari, Semitic military rulers called the Shakanakus apparently continued to rule contemporaneously with the third dynasty of Ur, or possibly in the period that just preceded it, with rulers such as the military governors like Puzur Ishtar, who was probably contemporary with Amar Sin. So then there's the king's list. The list of kings of the third dynasty of Ur with the length of their reigns appears on a cuneiform document listing the kings of Ur and Isin. The list of reigns of kings of Ur and Isin, the list explains 18 years of Ur-Nama was king, 48 years of Shogi, 9 years Amar-Suen, 9 years Su-Suen, and 24 years of Ibi-Suen. Abraham, the common patriarch of the three Abrahamic religions, is often put forward as having been born in Ur around this time, although estimated dates range from around 2300 BCE until 1960 BCE, the date of the destruction of Ur, and the identification of Ur with the Ur of the Chaldees in the Hebrew Bible is not entirely certain. The fall of Ur-3, lament for Ur. The power of the Neo-Sumerians was waning. Ibi-Sin in the 21st century launched military campaigns into Elam, but did not manage to penetrate far into the country. In 2004 or 1940 BCE, middle or short chronology, respectively, the Elamites allied with the people of Susa and led by Kindatu,
which is also Iran. Susa is also in Iran, just north of the other place.
Okay. Led by Kindatu, king of the Elamite Shimashki dynasty, managed to sack Ur and lead Ibi-Sin into captivity, ending the third dynasty of Ur. After this victory, the Elamites destroyed the kingdom and ruled through military occupation for the next 21 years.
Right, so Iran ruled Iraq.
Through military occupation.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
You know, which the states are favored to do anyway.
Yeah, that's right. Mesopotamia then fell under Amorite influence. The Amorite kings of the dynasty of Isin formed successor states to Ur-3, starting the Isin-Larsa period. They managed to drive the Elamites out of Ur, rebuilt the city, and returned the statue of Nana that the Elamites had plundered. The Amorites were nomadic tribes from the northern Levant, who were northwest Semitic speakers, unlike the native Akkadians of southern Mesopotamia and Assyria, who spoke East Semitic. By around the 19th century BCE, Much of southern Mesopotamia was occupied by the Amorites. The Amorites did at first not practice agriculture, preferring a semi-nomadic lifestyle, herding sheep. Over time, Amorite grain merchants rose to prominence and established their own independent dynasties in several South Mesopotamian city-states.
So, Amorite capitalist elite.
Yeah, that's right.
Right?
Yeah.
Through trade and through agriculture. Oh, you mean that their own private farm? Oh, no, you mean that they control groups of farms or areas.
Yeah.
So they're benefiting. Yeah. Oh, okay. I get it.
Yeah, Amorite grain merchants and established their own independent dynasties. Yeah, very much so.
Right? You read into that slowly. You're like, okay, wait a minute. Because I always think of this as to people that grasp what I'm saying sometimes. I try to think, if I said this same quote and just changed who the name was, would it sound normal? It's a capitalism or not? Or to like a state empire or not? If you said Russia, it's grain resource, or Ukraine, it's grain resources, and they became elite, or America, and because of their grain resources became, you start to realize that doesn't sound like an odd statement to say in a capitalist society, right? Say it again, but say Canada.
Yeah, exactly. Like Canadian grain merchants rose to prominence and established their own independent dynasties.
If you said that, if you wrote that on your post, when people are like, "Yeah, I hate capitalism," totally think that's what you're talking about, right? That's all. I'm just trying to explain. Certainly, I think there's versions of stuff for capitalism that don't apply. Yeah. But to act like there only is one version of capitalism, I think, is an error.
Yeah, there's some seems a mistake. So in several South Mesopotamian city-states, most notably Isin, Larsa, Eshnunna, Lagash, and later founding Babylon as a state. Political organization. The land ruled by the Three Kings was divided into provinces that were each run by a governor called an NC.
So once again, we're back to the governors are getting the stuff, and they're working for the elite. Okay, great.
Right. In certain tumultuous regions, military commanders assumed more power in governance. Each province had a redistribution center where provincial taxes, called bala, would all go be shipped to the capital. Taxes could be paid in various forms, from crops to livestock to land. The government would then apportion out goods as needed, including funding temples.
By the way, I was surprised
that
they didn't say slaves, because I know that they also traded that.
Right. Yeah. Just didn't want to put that in that section, I guess.
I just thought it was interesting. Wow, the first time they don't mention slaves.
Right. Yeah, that's weird. The city of Nippur and its importance. The city of Nippur was one of the most important cities in the third dynasty of Ur. Nippur is believed to be the religious center of Mesopotamia. It was home to the shrine of Enlil, who was lord of all gods. This was where the god Enlil spoke the king's name and was calling the king to his existence. This was used as a legitimacy for every king in order to secure power.
Right, which later in Europe and stuff is called the divine right of kings.
Yeah. The god gives you the power to rule over people.
Or also they call it the right of conquest, which I think is something only an imperialist would say.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, actually, I can do what I want: rape, kill, pillage, take all the stuff, tax people. Right of pillage, right of conquest.
Yeah, it's interesting to think like that there are rich people now who still like just believe that because they were born rich, that they are worthy of it in some way. Like they've earned it by being born, and more than others, and that like the peasants or the people who aren't rich, the poor, don't deserve that wealth because they just weren't born in the right family.
Yeah, I find that to be fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, it's gross. Yeah,
gross. Exactly. Yep. That's why to me, I mean, it's like I said the video before that. if we were going to recreate a society, are you really saying that you would be choosing capitalism?
Right.
How about you're the one on the bottom? Are you still choosing capitalism?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Well, like your situation, trying to find housing. I personally feel that there should be some basic stuff in anything wants to call itself civilized, is that people can get shelter, that they can get food and water. I mean,
yeah, no kidding. Yeah. My landlord wants to sell the house that we're in. So he wants us to move out. He gave us like 2.5 months of notice, but looking for a new house is causing a lot of stress to me because the price of rent is ridiculous here. Like,
I totally
everywhere.
understand.
It's ridiculous.
My goal was to only spend $200,000 on a house.
Right.
But all of a sudden, I learned this sick thing they do in Florida is that the first place we went to, you had to like bid, and they tell you have to bid more than they're even asking for.
Yeah.
And then they take the highest bid over what they're asking for. That's why I ended up waiting on a brand new house, because I was like, I thought, oh, we'll do 10,000. It wasn't enough. They did like 25 or 30,000 above. And I thought, you know what? I'm done with this. I'm just gonna go. And I have to wait. I'm gonna wait I was still pissed because I didn't want to spend as much as I did. I ended up spending more than I wanted to.
Yeah.
But the same problem as you. It was like that or nothing.
Yeah, that's right. You either do that or
like capitalism in general.
Yeah, or you don't have anywhere to live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we're even worse than that, because as you know, like in some states they're trying to do now, you can't even live in a tent somewhere. So you can't even go to supposed neutral land or somewhere and go live and then hunt.
Yeah.
Oh no!
Like, what are you actually supposed to do then? Like, that's the question is, like, are you just supposed to die? Because that's the only option they give you, right? Like, you have a family, you have people to be around, like, that need to be, have shelter, but you can't find any. You can't put up a tent. What are you actually supposed to do?
To me, it's seriously disgusting. The fact that these homelessness or the unhoused is disgusting. Or like saying you can't give food and water. Like there's laws. I can't remember now if it's California, Arizona, or both, or whatever. But they have laws about not giving water to people coming over for the border. That to
absurd.
Me is worse than that. It's fucking gross.
Yeah.
It's unethical. It's hideous. It's inhuman. Yeah, it's certainly nobody doing that, approving of that, should call themselves civilized.
No,
to me,
that's right.
What the? Not giving people water?
Yeah, it's fucked.
When they're in a desert and can die, and you think that someone giving water is the bad person? Wow, man, you need to check morality out. Just interesting concept.
Yeah. There's this guy. His name, you might have heard of him, Jesus. He wouldn't have liked what you're doing here.
Yeah, he has this thing that said, when they asked, what should I do? Should I sell things? And he said, sell everything you have.
Yeah.
Give it all to the poor and then follow me.
Yeah.
How many Christians are doing that on any side?
None. They've convinced themselves that being wealthy is somehow part of their religion. So.
Yeah, which is equally gross.
Yeah. Well, the city is also believed to be a place where people would often take disputes, according to some tablets that were found near the city. Politically, it is hard to say how significant Nippur was because the city had no status as a dynastic or military power. However, the fact that Nippur never really gave kings any real political or military advantages suggests to some that it was never really conquered. The city itself was more viewed as a national cult center. National cult center?
It's like Rome, like the Vatican in a sense. Even when other things took it over or could have, they didn't just burn the whole Vatican down.
Right.
You're like, he missed the chance. I mean, but
yeah. No. Imagine how much better things would be if you had.
Actually, I'm not. I'm even though I'm an iconoclast of ideas, I don't really like when people just destroy all kinds of artifacts of people's culture. Now, I have less care about that when it's shit like the Civil War or bullshit,
Yeah. Yep.
But even then, I would say put it in the fucking museum and say how fucking horrid it is. Say look what these people tried to put in the in public and act as if it was okay. And look what this monster did. I think I think we should be teaching a hell of a lot better history.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, and now the more as time goes on, teaching history more accurately is becoming more illegal.
Right. Yeah. Even like I said in Florida, they're trying to ban stuff. Yeah. Don't make a white heterosexual, Christian person feel bad. No.
Yep, that's right. Because it was viewed this way, it was thought that any conquest of the city would give Mesopotamian rulers unacceptable political risks. Also, as the city was seen as a holy site, this enabled Nippur to survive numerous conflicts that wiped out many other cities in the region. Social system. This is an area where scholars have many different views. It had long been posited that the common laborer was nothing more than a serf, but new analysis and documents reveal a possible different picture. Gangs of laborers can be divided into various groups. Certain groups indeed seem to work under compulsion. Others work in order to keep property or get rations from the state. Still, other laborers were free men and women for whom social mobility was a possibility. Yeah, no shit, eh?
Right. Many families. They're saying there was different economic systems all playing. Someone was a serf, someone was a slave, and someone was a capitalist. I'm like, yeah, you mean like it was in the 1800s in America?
Yeah.
Before slavery was outlawed? You mean like that?
Right.
You have all the stuff going on, not just one kind.
Yep. Yeah. So then, like you say, like a person who's a free person and not a slave might not see anything wrong with the system itself if they see economic mobility for themselves. Right?
Absolutely right. Which is why, even though a lot of liberals like to, say that they care about the poor people and all this, they are also benefiting and want to keep the structure in place of capitalism.
Yeah. Yep.
So, I mean, yeah.
Because it benefits them.
Right. Like, well, it still has some good things. Like, yeah, that's from someone who's benefiting.
Yeah,
exactly. If we ask the other people, yeah, they're probably not going to say the same thing.
Yeah, exactly. You've managed to have some mobility in your life due to various circumstances that other people have not had.
Yep.
Yeah. So many families traveled together in search of labor. Such laborers would amass private property and even be promoted to higher positions. This is quite a different picture of a laborer's life than the previous belief that they were afforded no way to move out of the social group they were born into.
Right. So the old opinion that it wasn't anything to do with capitalism was probably wrong.
Yeah, that's right. Turns out it was much more like capitalism than they thought.
Yeah, much more. Okay, if you don't think it is, you have to admit, boy, that sure does sound like it.
Yeah, that's right. Slaves also made up a crucial group of labor for the state. One scholar estimates that 2/5 of chattel slaves mentioned in documents were not born slaves, but became slaves due to accumulating debt, being sold by family members or other reasons. However, one surprising feature of this period is that slaves seem to have been able to accumulate some assets and even property during their lifetimes, such that they could buy their freedom.
Which also happens in Rome, and I think even happened in Greece. It also happens in Native Americans, some of them who had slaves that had the similar behavior. So, I mean, my point is, everybody acts like that's some totally unique. It's not unique.
Yeah.
Not unique.
No. Extant documents give details about specific deals for slaves' freedoms negotiated with slave owners. An early code of law. One salient feature of Ur-3 is its establishment of one of the earliest known law codes, the Code of Ur-Nammu. It is quite similar to the famous Code of Hammurabi, resembling its prologue and bodily structure. Extant copies written in Old Babylonian exist from Nippur, Sippar, and also Ur itself. Although the prologue credits Ur-Nammu, the author is still somewhat under dispute. Some scholars attribute it to his son, Shulgi. The prologue to the law code, written in the first person, established the king as the beacon of justice for his land, a role that previous kings normally did not play. He claims to want justice for all, including traditionally unfortunate groups in the kingdom, like the widower or the orphan.
Oh, he's a
yeah,
he's in it, but don't let it be the rail company who wants to have a union.
Yeah, no.
Oh, no. I'm pro-union until they do things that I don't like.
Yeah, that's right.
To the group, then, yeah.
Till they actually inconvenience us in some way when they're trying to fight for their rights.
You just inconvenient the state. Now that can't be accepted.
That's right. Most legal disputes were dealt with locally by government officials called mayors, although their decision could be appealed and eventually overturned by the provincial governor. Sometimes legal disputes were publicly aired with witnesses present at a place like the town square or in front of the temple. However, the image of the king as the supreme judge of the land took hold, and the image appears in many literary works and poems. Citizens sometimes wrote letters of prayer to the king, either past or present. Second millennium BCE. The second millennium BCE spanned the years 2000 BC to 1000 BCE, or 4022 years ago to 3022 years ago. In the ancient Near East, it marks the transition from the Middle to the Late Bronze Age. In the ancient Near Eastern cultures, are well within the historical era. The first half of the millennium is dominated by the Middle Kingdom of Egypt and Babylonia. The alphabet develops. At the center of the millennium, a new order emerges with Mycenaean Greek dominance of Aegean and the rise of Hittite Empire. The end of the millennium sees the Bronze Age collapse.
And the Mycenaeans, different than the people that went to Crete. The people that went to Crete are the Turkey DNA coming out of the Middle East when it first left.
Okay.
The Mycenaeans are that plus admixture, I think it's 10%, maybe it's 5%, I can't remember now, of the ancient North Eurasians, who to me are the ones in Siberia that give both the language, I think, and certainly the DNA, and the religion beliefs that pass down. So that's I'm saying. That's who the Greeks are, different in the sense than the people at Crete.
Interesting. Much of Europe enters the Bronze Age early in the second millennium, or 4,000 to 3,000 years ago, or so. There's the
bronze, so people know, is copper mixed with tin or arsenic. Sometimes all three. Sometimes just copper and arsenic, or copper and tin. But yeah, it's a mixture of these things. And these metals were not found in very good quantities in the Middle East. They had to be, in a sense, gotten from other sources. Especially tin. Tin was basically in Afghanistan, a little tiny bit in Turkey, a little tiny bit, I think, in Egypt. And then more of it came from Wessex or from Devon and Cornwall of England. That people went and traded from there, from all the way to Crete, and then from Crete all the way to Israel and Egypt and Turkey, whatever. So I guess that the trade was all the way that far. So when people think that people in the Bronze Age weren't traveling, they were going from Cornwall, which is, if you see England, it's got on its what is it, like the left side, if you look at it, it has like a little like peninsula thing that sticks out the bottom. That's what I'm talking about. That is where that area is, where massive amount of copper and tin are, even today.
And that made it all the way over to Israel.
Correct.
Over time.
Oh,
wow.
Well, no. Well, within, I would say, I don't know exactly, but within a short period of time. I don't know.
Right, like almost like a trader would just travel.
No, not almost. It absolutely was.
Okay.
No, that's why I wanted you to get it. It wasn't like 10,000 years it took. I think it might have been 5 years or 10 years or something. I don't know.
Right.
They're not claiming. I know it could have been 1 year. I don't think it was that quickly, because it also, like I said, didn't go from England straight to Israel. It went England, and then it went. It might have even been to the Italy, Sardinia, or something else too first. I don't know totally, but most of it though went to Crete, and then from Crete, which if you look at Turkey sticks out, and then Greece sticks out, and the thing down below is Crete.
Okay.
And so that island, it went from out there all the way to that island, and from there it was turned into ingots.
Okay.
So raw ore in a sense, or something close to that, and then in Crete they made them into they call it ox hides, or look like an hourglass kind of thing, sort of.
Okay.
And they're rough. It looks like, I don't know, fur or something.
Okay, interesting.
Or bumps or whatever. It's rough. It's not. Anyway, but whatever. So they're making these, and they have little symbols and stuff. So they're already putting religious kind of stuff in a sense. But those things are what's found in Israel, the finished product, like the product, not the ore or the transportation, but it goes to Crete, the empire. And then gets turned into a product, and then the product is distributed. So
interesting. So we've got a long list of places with links for the Wikipedia pages for them, and then we've got we got some dates. So yeah, there's in 2000 BC, the Siema Turbino phenomenon across northern Eurasia, originating.
Just so you understand, that is a big deal, because basically the entire step all the way to China was almost one culture, and not all, a lot or most, because I don't want to say all, of the ore is coming from the Golden Mountains, that I say is where I think that the distributive ideas of this mountain belief of shamanism then becomes later grave mounds, platforms, and I think pyramids. But those are, like an archaeologist would say, their own indigenous cultures' interpretation, not that someone gave them a pyramid,
Okay.
At least to me, I'm just saying I agree with them. No one gave them technology. They're tinkering around, but the thinking of doing it in a structure and its meaning, not so. Get what I'm saying. So no matter what the mound or pyramid or whatever platform, step platform, I think they all relate to a similar type of shamanistic thinking about mountains.
Okay.
About deities and how you reach the spirits and ancestors and stuff like that. So that I think is connected, but that's a loose thing that is not directly related to how other people try to connect the pyramids and stuff. I feel like they're trying to say like some advanced culture taught these people. No,
right. Yeah, no. It's clearly much more likely that it's like, wow. I mean, maybe it's not as clear as I think it is, but it seems clear that you don't need somebody going around teaching all these cultures to build pyramids.
And all you have to do is even if that to test that hypothesis, right? To me, is easy. Put them all together and look at how many things are really the same.
Mm-hmm.
And even if you can find some similarities, and I do think but is it explained because someone taught them to do it exactly like this? Or like what I think is when you have these cosmologies that are similar, that even like with Slavs, if you listen to their deities and then you go and read what the Proto-Indo-European deities, there's a lot of similarity. When you read the Slavic deities, which are different from the Greek deities, there's still a lot of similarity. Or the Roman. My point is, but that doesn't mean it's the same exact thing any more than to say that all the pyramids, even though I'm saying there's a relatedness to belief systems, to what motivates this desire to build things and what it means when you do build them is what I'm saying. So you get my point.
Yeah. Like you say, like the like you said, the underlying belief system is the motivating factor that causes people to build a certain thing.
That's what they're sharing, not the technology to build, but the
right.
desire to build and what it means when you do build it is kind of similar to me.
Right, because it doesn't seem like it seems like these different cultures could come up with the way to build these things on their own, and there's going to be slight differences in them.
Which is what you do see. Which is literally what you see.
Yeah, so
that's what I'm trying to say, is that literally is what you see. Just like even if you look up Kurgans, all the Kurgans they know are connected. But are they all the same? No. And so that's the same thing. So every culture, in a sense, sort of does it a little different. And I feel Domans and Kurgans are actually kind of connected, because people don't think about it now because they see one is stone and one is a wood structure. But those wood structures and those stone structures were both built like little chamber houses with people in them, and then they build mounds over them.
Okay.
So they're really not that different. Now you see most of the dolmens are all the dirt's removed. So people, if you go look at pictures of dolmens, like one of these days we'll talk about this because it's important stuff too. But it's just to show how things are related, but they're not. This is why I want. Yes, but also no. Don't do the Graham Hancock and think crazy shit. That you need to be way more reserved at what you think got transmitted, and then everybody did their own thing. That is way more accurate. It's like saying the Clovis tools in America, right? There's nowhere particularly that you find in the rest of the world Clovis tools.
Mm-hmm.
You find similarities, but you don't find that exact thing. So guess what? Tool technology, though, was not invented in the Americas. No one would say this.
Right.
But they did their own version. That's not unreasonable. That's what I'm trying to get people to grasp.
Yeah.
Yes, no one invented these mound ideas in their own areas, to me, or in general. I can't say nobody because someone actually could have. But I'm saying in general, there is a connection. Once you look at the DNA and you look at the religion and stuff, you start to go, okay, wait a minute. There's definitely something shit coming from the north going everywhere.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, the details of it aren't as like specific, I guess is the
right. That's what I'm saying. If you go look at Slavs, stuff will match, and we know linguistically it's connected and the DNA is connected, but the religion is a little bit different. And that's all I'm trying to get people to grasp is he's wrong. Graham Hancock or anyone who says stuff like that is wrong.
Yeah.
But to say that there's no connection, I feel, is also wrong. But you're overemphasizing. It's like saying, well, didn't they have deities? Yes. Well, so there are similarities. But that deity fact is such a basic thing. It's not, in other words, it's not as impressive as Graham's thing. I'm saying stuff, well, everybody's sharing deities. Well, because to me, here's my thought, is there wasn't deities before the destain. That's the thought that I have. Is that the destain, or the people of that time, 8,000, whatever, till 5,000, they brought in deity concepts.
Okay.
Before that, I do not think they had anything like that. Now, they may have, because all of it to me comes from shamanism and turns into paganism, which is kind of like shamanism, spirits turn into deities, or shamans like Odin turn into a deity, or are said to relate to a shaman. So to me, it's and even like the Koraks, their great shaman or great grandfather, they mean is basically the god that created everything or something.
Mm-hmm.
So that's not a big stretch to turn that into a deity.
Right. Yeah.
So my point is that some, I don't know all, but some shamanism might have moved its spirits into some deities pre-agriculture. That's possible. But it would have been extremely more like spirits and not like deity, like we think of it more now.
Right.
They became more qualities, more human, anthropomorphic, certainly more human-like or whatever. I think that because like the crow beliefs up there, and then the eagles and stuff like that, or vulture beliefs. These are, to me, the more original stuff. and then they get turned into great men who sometimes is a shaman and sometimes is a crow.
Right.
You get what I'm saying? It's shape-shifting, whatever. It's like even in Mesoamerica, they have jaguars or whatever. It's like a werewolf, or whatever. But I'm saying, so it's a similar thing, a were-crow or something, You can turn into this shapeshifters or whatever.
Right.
But I'm saying is, so shapeshifters is a good thing to understand how shamanism alone could end up with deities. So I'm not saying that 100% everyone got a deity because of already pre-existing. It is possible some of the stuff could have just naturally, depending on pressures, changing. Shamanism is very acceptable to end up with deities. I mean,
yeah, it's adjacent. It's right there.
Yeah, there you go. It's really adjacent. Right. So it's not a big jump to go from that to that. It's not compared to when you go to animist, it's a lot harder. And then when they do have stuff, it's generally imposed against them. But even if they came up with it, it would be more like a great spirit, like people here. That's like an animist concept of a deity is more closer to that.
It sounds like evolution.
Well, that's why, right? This is why, even though I try to explain to people, I'm simplifying. It's way more complicated. Just I look at our DNA going into, the Slav. There's all these freaking arrows going everywhere.
Right.
Yeah. That's about how religion is. I'm trying to make it easier. I'm trying to get you to grasp the big concepts, boom, 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 so you can start to see this and utilize this knowledge. So it's way more complicated. So whatever you think, that's why I say people go like, your stuff's too hard. It's not hard enough.
It's actually harder than the.
It's actually extremely harder. If I wanted to go in more detail, it's even worse for you guys. But I'm trying to just get the general thing. And so you start to be able to use this as concepts of analyzing and understanding the connections or what's going on. It's like the DNA looking at where the Slavs come from. They didn't just out of nowhere magically.
Right. Yeah.
So,
they didn't just stay in one place.
No, right. And so, but that's more complicated, and it's not as exciting as one culture taught everyone, and white culture, as Graham would say, I guess.
Right.
Be more hideous to me. Like, what the fuck?
Bizarre. Well, okay. Our next line, we have 1700 to 1300 BCE. Palace complex in Knossos, Crete was built. And then we've got 1700 BCE. Earthquake damages palaces at Knossos and Phaistos. 1627 BCE, there was the Minoan eruption.
Right, which some people try to say could be relating to the later Atlantis beliefs. If you're going to say something is anything real, that in a sense that could have some actual thing to a sea people that were devastated by volcano,
natural disaster.
Natural disaster. But that's still, Atlantis is still bullshit. But I'm just saying that like the ratchet structure in Africa, that's bullshit. Yeah, that's just a freaking natural occurrence of I think it's like 70 million years old or some crap.
Right.
Yeah, that has nothing to do with people say, oh, they found Atlantis out there. Like, no, they did not. Shut up. No.
Just stop.
Please stop. You've now learned from me, right? A lot of stuff about history. Is it not pretty amazing?
Oh yeah. No, it's so, there's so much of it. And different cultures, they did cool things, and you go like, wow, I'm amazed that they could do that at that time. I didn't realize how similar they were to us, and there's lots of, it's very cool stuff. I don't know.
Exactly. So my point would be, then why intentionally use fake shit?
Yeah,
you're not learning anything positive by learning fake shit, and then the real shit is also pretty damn cool.
Yeah,
I think.
What's that Douglas Adams quote about something about the garden is beautiful enough, you don't have to add fairies to it, or something like that?
I don't know, but I agree with it though.
You don't have to have fairies hiding in the garden for it to be beautiful.
And if you feel like, well, you want better answers, guess what? I hate to break it to you, there is better answers. Go look at the DNA. Go look at stuff. It's complicated. Yeah, I know. But that is the better answer.
Yeah, that's right. It's a more complete, more structured answer that makes sense instead of just asserting whatever you want without any evidence.
Exactly. But I think that it's really important though for us to get this stuff, because we think that these are new problems, or that the solution is back to statism again. And I'm like, go check out the whole history of statism, please. Just seriously. When has that ever been the answer?
It's been bad the whole time. Yeah.
We have got to do something better, because this has been shit like from the beginning. And
that's right.
Colonizing and taking over and oppressing people in slavery. This is not how we should be doing stuff.
Yeah. So next we've got 1600 to 1360 BCE, the Egyptian domination over Canaan and Syria.
Which means that the time that the Jews talk about the running away from the Pharaoh, the Pharaoh owned the land from Egypt all the way to Turkey, basically.
Right.
So, or southern Syria at least. So you weren't really escaping to anything other than more territory.
Yeah, that they still
of the Egyptian Empire.
1575 BCE, Nubian, Kerma, Sax, Egypt. 1520 BCE, Egypt conquers Nubia. 1478 BCE, the Battle of Megiddo.
That's in Israel.
Okay.
It's on like a mountain plateau kind of thing.
Okay. 1269 BCE, Ramses II and Hattusilus III sign a peace treaty.
The first one in the world.
Interesting.
Two empires saying we're not going to keep killing each other because it seems like neither of us can win.
That's probably a good idea. Maybe stop fighting war if nobody.
Yeah, that's what it takes, right?
Yeah.
We don't talk about peace until we've tried the war angle at every angle, and then we go, okay, maybe Ukraine and Russia shouldn't fight. I don't know.
Yep, maybe. 1274 BCE, the Battle of Kadesh. 1250 BCE, the destruction of Troy 7.
And Troy is on the western coast of Turkey.
Okay.
Supposedly.
Or
believed to be, I should say.
Okay. 1045 BCE, the Zhou dynasty was founded in China. The first millennium BCE, also known as the last millennium BCE, was the period of time lasting from the years 1000 BCE to 1 BCE, or 3022 or 2023 years ago. It encompasses,
in other words, the time of Jesus, whatever, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's right in there, right?
Yeah, well, that's what it's measured at. It used to be before Christ and after death. Or whatever. There's other things, but I mean that's a terminology that actually to me applied, because that is how it's sure how they set it up. It's before Jesus was there, Christianity, and then after that point.
It encompasses the Iron Age in the Old World and sees the transition from the ancient Near East to classical antiquity. World population roughly doubled over the course of the millennium, from about 100 million to about 200 to 250 million. The Neo-Assyrian Empire dominates the Near East in the early centuries of the millennium, supplanted by the Achaemenid Empire in the 6th century.
Iran.
Ancient Egypt is in decline and falls to the Achaemenids in 525 BCE. In Greece, classical antiquity begins with the colonization of Magna Graecia and peaks with the conquest of the Achaemenids.
Right. So when we like states and countries, we're actually liking all this, previous conquering.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm proud to be American, Canadian, Russian, whatever, Ukrainian.
Right.
Yeah, I'm proud of all this, terror and stuff.
All the death and destruction that came from states dominating each other. And the subsequent flourishing of the Hellenistic civilization from 4th to 2nd centuries.
And Hellenistic is basically Greek.
Ah.
So you know that when Greeks basically took over the world in a sense, like Alexander the Great and all that, Hellenistic culture then gets spread.
Okay, yep, that makes sense. The Roman Republic supplants the Etruscans, and then the Carthaginians, 5th to 3rd centuries BCE. The close of the millennium sees the rise of the Roman Empire. The early Celts dominate Central Europe, while Northern Europe is in the pre-Roman Iron Age. In East Africa, the Nubian Empire and Aksum arise. In South Asia, the Vedic civilization blends into the Maurya Empire. The Scythians dominate Central Asia. In China, the spring and autumn period sees the rise of Confucianism. Towards the close of the millennium, the Han Dynasty extends Chinese power towards Central Asia, where it borders on Indo-Greek and Iranian states. Japan is in the Yayoi period. The Maya civilization rises in Mesoamerica. The first millennium BCE is the formative period of the classical world religions. With the development of early Judaism and Zoroastrianism in the Near East, and the Vedic religion and Vedanta and Jainism and Buddhism in India.
Vedic religion is, think of it as Hinduism.
Yeah. Early literature develops in Greek, Latin, Hebrew, Sanskrit, Tamil, and Chinese. The term axial age, coined by Karl Jaspers, is intended to express the crucial importance of the period of the 8th to 2nd centuries BCE in world history. World population more than doubled over the course of the millennium, from about an estimated 50 to 100 million to an estimated 170 to 300 million. Close to 90% of the world population at the first millennium BCE lived in the Iron Age civilizations of the Old World, the Roman Empire, Parthian Empire, Greco-Indo-Scythian, and Hindu kingdoms, and Han China. The population of the Americas was below 20 million, concentrated in Mesoamerica, Epi-Olmec culture. That of sub-Saharan Africa was likely below 10 million, and the population of Oceania was likely less than 1 million people. That's the end of today's script.
Right on. I appreciate, doing this, and I hope people are learning stuff. And I thank you for, joining us and, getting these ideas out.
Yeah, for sure. It was a good one today. It was long, but it was a lot of fun.
Educational, right?
Yeah, that's right.
Right on. Well, everyone, I appreciate it, and we'll do other shows. So we have 2 more to do on this, and then finally we'll go to something I really want to talk about.
Sounds good.
Like I want to get to China and the Americas. I want to get to stuff that I care about. This right here I did, like I told you, not because I actually care about Samaria, but I realized that not enough anarchists and socialists or even other people grasp what's going on and why it's important.
Yeah.
So
right on. Well, I better my son is moving to the city today, so I better get going.
All right. Well, take care, and I wish him well.
Thank you.
Hello, and welcome to my channel. I am Damien Marie AtHope. In the simplest terms, I am an atheist-humanist philosopher and prehistorical writer-researcher at DamienMarieAtHope.com. I am specifically an axiological atheist. An axiological atheism can be thought to involve ethical and value theory reasoned and moral argument driven apatheism, agnosticism, atheism, antitheism, antireligionism, secularism, and humanism. Axiological atheists can be understood as a value theory or a value science atheist. As an axiological atheism ethically reasoned, and constructive pro-humanity. I am an axiological thinker, value theorist. The science of goodness, worthiness, usefulness, valuableness, virtue, reliableness, accuracy, validity, morality, integrity, beneficialness, etc., etc. We axiologists have a value consciousness. And in general, we see the architecture of humanistic humanitarianism value in people that we see as dignity beings. Places and things are not. Axiology is a value theory. In its broadest sense, it involves areas of philosophy that are deemed to encompass some evaluative or evaluation aspect. Therefore, it crosses almost all domains in some way or another. Now for a more detailed terms as to what I am. I am an axiological atheist, an anti-theist, an anti-religionist, secularist, humanist, rationalist, writer, artist, poet, philosopher, advocate, activist, with schooling in psychology, sociology, as well as I am an autodidact, self-taught in science, archaeology, anthropology, and philosophy. I promote science and am against pseudoscience, pseudohistory, pseudomorality, things that are found in religion.